Hello, can you hear me? We're waiting for the rest of the crew to get here. Good to see you too, Tejilim29. Canales,
Hello.
compadre, ¿cómo estás? Hey, how are
Muy
you?
bien. Muy bien.
Hello.
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 So
Nothing much. Glad you could join us. I wanted to make sure you got the link. Your DM inbox getting flooded with links. But, and I think Braylon should be joining us shortly.
Yeah, and Comic Perch said
Okay.
he would, if he could, he would try to
All right.
all right.
Is he?
join us too. He's a co-owner of a comic book store somewhere in this world.
I think it's on the Pacific. He's on the
Honestly, I don't know where.
I think it's on I think it's somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, but that will put it at 5:32 in the afternoon. So he's still got some sun. He's still got a little bit of sunshine coming his way.
Yeah. So,
right.
Braylon, I see you.
Hey, what's up?
What's up? So, Comic Perch. No, not true. Rebirth Comic. Yeah?
Yep.
Yes.
Or Comic Rebirth.
It's Rebirth Comics, but
Rebirth Comic?
Yep.
So, oh, I'm getting echo. How is it? Fuck. Now?
Yeah, it's a little bit echo still.
Yeah, I hear it too. Let's see. Now?
Not so much anymore. But
okay.
Yeah, I'm not getting no echo from you now. But yes, Comic Rebirth, our Rebirth comic. How would you like this to, we could short it down to one, whatever you feel like.
Actually, you can just call me Rebirth if you want.
All right, Rebirth it is, because
very well.
We get Braylon, me, Larry, and Eduardo, whatever you feel comfortable with. But yeah, thank you for joining us. I quite love the comic that's coming together that you're working on. With you and your artist, and what inspired you to do that? Just came to you one day and reached out to the artist.
I had like the comic in my head for like, let's see, since 2015. Like I have like a whole bunch of this random ideas written down in my notebook, and so. Like this particular one, it basically began from like one of my other comic ideas, and like of course I decided to do some edits to that. And the title, I could not think of anything for the longest until my boyfriend basically like said, why not call it Apple Force? And I'm like, that makes perfect sense.
That's funny how things work out like that.
Yeah.
That's nice. So the comic book store you used to go with your dad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually, I think tomorrow is the last day. But I have to work tomorrow, so if I can make it, then I'm going to try to. But that was like the first one that my dad took me to, so it sucks.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
How long have you been a comic book fan?
I want to say that the cartoons is what really got me into comics, like the 90s Batman, the 90s X-Men.
The cartoons?
Yeah. Like, I did not get into comics this by, my grandfather or my dad or whoever just giving me a comic. I got into it because of, like, the cartoons and such.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it was for me, too, for the most part. I'd seen the Batman 89, but it was the constant, the Batman animated series and then the X-Men animated series, Spider-Man, Superman. Yes. And it was just like the exposure to it and like to the characters. And
you young chicks have that, chicks as in chickens. No. You spring chicks have luck, all the luck in the world.
Yeah.
To me, the first Batman was Batman 66 with Adam West.
Oh my god.
Oh fuck no.
Hey, the Adam West Batman, I will stand by because I actually watched that too because it was on TV Land. They would do the TV Land. They would show it like the hour blocks, the 2-episode segments. It was really fun, but it's one of those things I've realized now. You cannot binge watch that show, or your brain will be burned out because of the puns.
It might be fun as a grown-up, not as a kid.
Well, I'm saying now it's like it's hard to watch more than say 6 episodes in a row, which is only about 2 hours. And it just your brain starts to melt down. You feel liquid coming out of your ears.
Yeah.
Only too many Biff Bam Pows.
And besides here in Mexico, it was Bruno Tapia y su entrenado, el joven Bruno Díaz y su entrenado Ricardo Tapia. They had to change the names back then. Nothing could be in English.
Oh, okay.
So imagine the bad puns in English, even worse. Made worse in Spanish.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I didn't think the jokes could get any worse.
Oh, you don't know. You should learn Spanish and then search that kind of show in Spanish from Spain. Oh God, it's horrible. Okay.
No, I might just do that.
I still remember when my dad got a copy of Superman, the first modern movie.
The Christopher Reeve one.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, it's all in Spanish.
Got a copy, yes, from Spain. Okay, from Spain. It was terrible.
Listen, we got some new guests showing up. We got Retro and we got Comics Perch showed up as well, which I'm surprised we got a full house tonight.
Yes.
Awesome.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Hey.
Doing good.
What's going on?
Hello.
Oh,
hello. Thanks for the invite. Good to join you guys for a change. I haven't used Hangouts before. It's all very new.
Well, you're doing well so far.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to them.
Yeah, this is my second one.
I've done it a few times.
Well, imagine you're with a bunch of friends having, I don't know, coffee, beer,
not
soy,
room's all black, and
no soy.
No
soy in my coffee. I'll take almond milk, but no soy.
Yeah. No, not alcohol for me either. No. The day I can't drink milk, I will quit.
Oh man! So, what did y'all guys wanted to start on about? I saw like we had a lot of ideas.
I was thinking about Rebirth telling us about how it's going to affect the comic community where she lives. The fact that the store is closing.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Like, I wish that this wasn't happening because, like I said, this is the one that my dad took me to. This is the one where basically I will just meet up with, like, this would be like the one where I will like just meet up with like a couple of people to hang out with. It was wow.
There are more stores where you live.
In a way, yeah, but this one was like in walking distance to me, and not only that, I had like my comic store, my game store, so I could, just go to my comic stop, get me a comic, and then if I had like enough time, just go to the game store and like just get me a game also.
Yeah.
It's tough that you got the stores closing. I mean, it's a brutal time in the business. People aren't making money. It's just it is survival. We're burning our wallets, and when one store closes, a lot of people think that's going to be good for the other stores in the area, but it's not. Even though in theory more business floods to those stores, any store closing, half that audience just goes online and just stops coming in. They don't find a new community, so you don't see this formation where the stores that remain open get healthier for a while. It's deteriorating. It's a tough time.
Yes.
I can definitely see that because fortunately for me, I have 2 comic book shops that are like 15 minutes away from me, right? Drive time, not walking distance. And the one is on the other side of the freeway. So it's one of those type of things where one store I go to get my, I have my pull list. I get Mr. Miracle. I get, Marvel 2-in-1, whatever my comics are that I want to get. Or if, if they have certain old back issues, I'll grab those. And if I want some manga, I will go to the other side of the freeway and go to there where I get my Gundam and Ultraman or whatever else. So it's kind of one of those things. I have that luxury. But if, one of those stores were to close down or both of them, the nearest comic book shop is like Bedrock, which is, I don't know, like a 25, 30-minute drive, depending on traffic. So that would definitely slow down the amount of comics I would buy. If I did go there, I'd probably go there maybe monthly and then just grab all my books for the month.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. And you buy less as a result. I mean, that's what I see these recommendations of why don't people just do pull lists or just buy your comics once a month will be fine. Well, people buy less. They're introduced to less. They are showing up at the store less. They're getting less community, less conversation, and you just naturally buy less when you go less. It's you see it all the time.
Yes, exactly. It's our bike gang bar,
Yeah.
Yeah, you go there, you meet with friends, you talk comics with them, with clerks if they know you, if they're friendly.
Yeah.
And if it closes and the next one is next time over, well, that's really going to affect your consuming habits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why just the fact I saw a little bit of you guys stream a couple days ago. Unfortunately, I missed it. I was still at work or something like that. But
Yesterday.
Okay, so it was yesterday. I forget what her name was. She had the Mary Jane avatar.
Feisty.
Yeah.
Feisty.
So she was talking about some of her experiences with dealing with customers and stuff like that. And you don't get that one-on-one interaction when you talk with people. For one, I got a couple issues of Silver Saber. I was saying I'll wait, I don't need it, and I finally just broke down and got it right. I went to the other I made a video about it. Okay, that's how much I loved it. And it was funny because I went over to that comic shop and so originally I went over there and I was like, okay, I'm gonna look for some more old school sensational She-Hulk, right? Because they had the cover with her saying, hey, if you don't buy my comic, I'm going to rip up all your X-Men comics. That cover?
Oh, yeah.
With the balloons on it. I was like, okay, I'll get it. It was like $45. I was like, no, never mind. I won't get it. Oh, whatever. I was like, I'm not spending $45 on that. So I went to the other comic book shop to see if they had it. But they what they had? The trashy Marvel Legacy Hulk comics. Like a guy said, oh, yeah, we got some Hulk. And it was like the Hulk comics from this current Marvel run with SJW Marvel and all. And I was like, I kind of looked at him for a second. I was like, bro, I want the real She-Hulk. The meme when you see with Magneto.
Fetal position She-Hulk.
No,
watches videos about people baking. I was like, this is absolute trash. So then I looked around and there was one I don't know, it was like issue 34 or something from the early 2000s. And I was like, never mind. And then I was like, well, you have some Power Girl. And the guy was telling me, he was like, you know, it's weird. Power Girl's actually gotten more popular recently. She wasn't popular then, so we don't have too many issues, but the ones we had, a lot of people grabbed. So they had like 23 and 24, and I was like, I won't know what the heck's going on. So I went to look for Huntress. It was like year 1 and Convergence. I was like, nope. And they had some World's Finest, and I was looking at that. I was like, okay, I might grab that. But then I said, do you have Silver Sable? And it's like, I don't see it. But you know what was really cool? He took the time to go find a short box under the table, dig through all these old dusty comics, and he whipped out like a fat stack of like Silver Sable. And I was just like, oh my God. So he's like, go at it, bro. And like I told him what I found. He was like, oh, that's cool. So he's a comic book collector in that moment. When someone looks at you and it's like respect, and you just feel so good inside. Like, oh man, I'm part of the crew now.
Well, yeah, most stores are happy. I mean, you know, it's funny. The only thing that gets me mad really online, you know, I talk too much, I tweet too much, but I hate this narrative that comes out that the comic stores are these awful hellholes where people come in and they're gross and they're mean to women, and it's the store owners won't help. I mean, I'm sure somebody out there has a lousy store, but everybody's dying. So the store owners are thrilled to help you out in almost every case. They just want to sell you books. And if there was some kind of toxic attitude going on in that store that was preventing sales, it would disappear quick. It's about making money. And so we want to help you. We want to have that community, because when we help you and there's that community, we make money, everybody wins. You come back. That lie that there's these terrible people in the store should die because there's terrible people inside. I don't know where these stores exist, but I just have never seen it.
I've been to one. It was in South Jersey, and it was actually in a basement underneath I talked about it yesterday, underneath a meat shop, and it had you could see the pipes for the wastewater and freshwater, and the guy was watching pornography on a laptop, and I asked him, could you stop that? I was the only one in the store. I asked him, please stop that. And while he did not listen to me, I was looking through. I was like, this store is going to close eventually because it's such bad shape. I mean, the tile on the floor was a really cheaply laid vinyl tile, and it was peeling up like a tripping hazard. And having to hear people talking above, asking for gabagool and other stuff like that, while you hear flushing water, and it's pretty horrific. But they had 1980s, 1990s original like X-Men and Marvel trade paperbacks when they were doing like the matte stock, and it was just, and because it was cover price, and those things they're no longer in print because a lot of the X-Men stuff, you know, Marvel was. And a woman walks in the store, maybe he's in there for 35, 40 seconds, turns around and leaves when like this place is creepy. Yeah, so
fair enough. There you go.
It's like that Grandpa Simpson where he just walks in, turns around, walks out.
Exactly, puts his head up in the thing and walks right back out. Yeah. Homer Simpson into the bushes. She just
many of us would have done the same. Only if you know they have some comic you can't find anywhere else.
I'm convinced those places survive by doing some kind of backdoor or something. there's
I bet, bro. Yes, I bet so. Yes.
When I was
here the first store I knew. It was really big in a mini mall, and it was beautiful, huge store. You know, that was maybe not the first one in the city, but the first one I knew about. Because the first one I would have to ask Spike exactly where it was. I never went there. I knew I know the building. It had a Spider-Man figure, 3D Spider-Man outside, but I never thought that it was a comic book store there. It had no other sign that said here's a comic book store.
Yeah, that's just bad promotion.
Most don't.
Well, they were successful for many years. You know.
Those,
word of mouth.
Yeah. Word of mouth does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty.
Word of mouth can make or break a book too.
Oh,
exactly.
I got to, if we're talking about comic shops and just the various places we've been over the years, I got to talk about the three that were in the city that I grew up in. The first one is they kind of tout themselves as being like one of the largest comic shops in the Northeast United States. I kind of call bullshit on that because they've become more of like a pop culture emporium. So I walk in there and I have to walk halfway through the store before I hit the comics. I got to walk through video games, magic cards, D&D stuff, vinyl records, used DVDs and Blu-rays. Then I get to the comics, but they do have a decent back section of Marvel, DC, Indies, so on and so forth. But that's the first actual comic shop I've ever been into, and they're still very healthy. The other two don't exist anymore, and I'm going to talk about the first one that went under. This happened back in, I want to say, the late 90s. I went to middle school, maybe a couple of miles from there. So every so often, if I had a couple of dollars after school, take a walk down there. And it was like 2/3 game shop, 1/3 comic shop, but they had an okay selection. The owner of the place ended up fucking torching it.
Really?
Too much lightning?
What happened?
What?
He torched the fucking place in an insurance scam. He couldn't make it all
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where they had like now like through the years, like I've played Magic, I've played video games, read comics, this, that, the other thing. They had some really expensive shit in there. And this guy's like, okay, well, it's when it comes to insurance, it's not what it's worth, it's what you paid for. So you can pay like $10 for like a vinyl bust. I'm being facetious, but bear with me. You can pay like $10 for like a vinyl bust of like Venom, and like, well, the fucking market value of it's like $50. Like, no, it's like, get the fuck out of here. Like, you paid $10 for it, we're gonna reimburse you $10.
Yeah.
The other store was this small, like, now in the American Northeast we have 3-story houses. So it's not like a townhouse style. It's 3 apartments stacked on top of each other. Sometimes you have 4, but 3 is usually most common. And this guy's store was the front of, we call them 3-deckers. That's going to give away where specifically where I'm from. But his storefront was the first floor of his house. So more often than not, he's upstairs on the second floor watching his daughter and everything. So I ring the bell. Hey, come on down. So we'd hang out in his store. Now you can't. This is after something that happened in Massachusetts was the smoking ban. So you couldn't smoke in an established business. We're hanging out in his comic shop, smoking butts, talking about this, that, the other thing, and like we're having like these like deep like what's going on in Civil War? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And it was just like this very like visceral experience because like it's almost like comics talk in its like rawest form. And that guy's shop, he managed to kind of like float along for a while, and sadly enough, he ended up passing away kind of out of the blue quite a few years ago. But he had his shop, which if you looked at the size of the house and the size of his shop, you're like, how the fuck did you fit all that in there, guy? Seriously. he had a storage like a shipping container out front.
Oh, Connex box. Yep.
Yeah. So like I asked like one day I was like, what's in there? He's like, comics. Like, you name it. Like, if you want to help me like deal with the shelving unit in the back, I'll give you like pickings as to what's in there because I don't even know yet. But he categorized everything, so and he kept everything in good condition. So it's just one of those. It was one of those weird like, this was like a good guy comics book guy boiled down into its purest form. To this day, that I still miss him. 2 shops. Well, this one shop is kind of a legacy, but that's like closer. Further away, I should say. It usually takes like about 45 minutes to get there, so I only go there on occasions. But there's another shop that opened up a few years ago, and like these guys are Johnny on the spot. Like, you can go in there, you can have a discussion with them, any title, current, classic, who's writing, who's in the hot seat right now. You can go in there and just be like, Brevoort sucks, and they'll be like, and they'll sit there for a minute and think about it.
And they
like,
would
you know what?
high five you.
Right. What's that?
Would they high five you when you said that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Nobody likes Brevoort in business.
No. When the store I was telling you opened first,
Okay.
I went there and the guys working there were younger than I, and most of them knew shit about comics. For them, it was just a work.
Yeah, it was a job. That's
Just a job. Because here, being a comic book fan wasn't well, especially back then.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was something that people told you have to grow out of.
Oh yeah,
You know? So imagine me at 25 going to the comic book store, mustache, beard,
yeah.
and the kids would look at me weird at first. What was I doing there?
Yeah, it's like where are your kids there, buddy? If you don't have kids, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, almost.
One more thing to that point, the place that's the Pop Culture Emporium, I go in there, I can't have a conversation. Now, granted, like there's two girls that work there, at least back in their heyday, and like they kind of ruled the roost. And after that, you just had like these very like beta nerds who you really couldn't have a conversation with them about comics or anything else because they were just too kind of absorbed in their own world. There was one time they're having a conversation about Star Trek, and I kind of tangentially understand Star Trek, but I'm a big fan of the original series. And I'm trying to tell them, like, yeah, there's a reason why Kirk was tied in with Bones. And they're like, well, why? You know, why was he better friends with Bones than he was Spock and blah, 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 because Spock kept him intellectually sharp and this and that. Like, no. Kirk fucked anything that moved. He's gonna go bang some blue broad, and he's gonna get some who's gonna help him? Spock could just be like, Jim, you gotta think twice.
Yeah.
And Bones is gonna be like, Jim, I got your back. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Here's your shot.
Jim, I'm sorry, you're being very illogical right now. Star Trek disease, not STD. Star Trek
STD is a disease. STD is a disease. Yes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, there's Star Trek Discovery STD. So,
let's be honest.
I think that was on purpose.
Star Trek. Yes, it's on purpose. It's to spit on the fans.
Hey, did you see STDs last night?
No, thank you. I saw the first 3 episodes only.
My test came back clean.
But with Rebirth, unfortunately your store closing, and I know it has a lot of emotional weight considering what it means to you. Like it's like first store, the way you're introduced to it. Do you think you'll try this other store, or that you might take a break from comics for a while? Or
I mean, I do the other store, it's like downtown. So when I actually, get some time, I might check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's like right now, don't really have way up there.
And the worst thing, you guys used to be able to get the subscription, right?
Yeah, I used to get subscriptions. Used to be able to go to a drugstore, spinner rack. That's where I get my comics. I was at the whim of the spinner rack. I'm like, oh, well, now they have Spider-Man. I'm like, where's my X-Men at? Oh, we don't have no X-Men this month. We sold out. I'm like, no, I want my X-Men, damn it.
Yeah, you're kind of at the whim. It's just like, I picked up the last 2 issues of X-Men. I kind of want to see how the story arc's going to end. And it's like, you go down there, they got like Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, And I'm trying to think of like some obscure, like Ghost Rider and Blaze. Yeah,
they have a Hulk book, and I know it was like that's supposed to be a great run, but it didn't interest me. It was like a little too intellectual. I need to see Wolverine, slashing up somebody. I need to see, good stuff. That's what I needed. Gambit throwing his playing cards, but
back Wolverine was a chain smoker.
That was my life back here when. Even when the first store I discovered just opened, because the comics didn't get here in a regular basis, really. It was supposed to be the Thursdays when they got the comics. And you knew this week is what was Batman. Okay? So you went there and nope, no Batman. You sold out? No. Didn't arrive, so you have to go next week, and you have to go 2 or 3 times a week to get your comics because they didn't have a pull list back then.
Yeah, that's how it is. I mean, that's how it is. I got a friend that lives in Wales, and getting comics there to actually have to go. I think it's about an hour down to Cardiff, where they film Doctor Who and everything, and they have comic stores down there. But that's that Forbidden Planet, the big UK store, and that's chain. And even then, it's just even that's a pain. Yeah, you have to be lucky because you got to think all this stuff's being printed in Canada, or some of it's being printed in America now, but a lot of it's still printed in Canada. Some's printed in China, comes to America, gets distributed from I think Tennessee is where Diamond distributes their stuff. And then from there to the rest of the world, and you're at the whim of Diamond. And, that's one of those things we found out that, Diamond's not the most reliable or the best people to be putting your comics.
Or friendly.
Or friendly.
That's the understatement of the week.
Without a doubt. Well, that's why I kind of like digital, but I kind of don't, is because, I don't like Diamond. I've seen what Diamond does to shops. And
I don't like digital. I use it in books because I have no place to keep storing books, I have way too many. So my books are in digital now. But my comics, I try to get the floppies always.
Yeah, I need to just just feel like that comic paper in my hand.
The tactile interaction, you can't get that with a digital comic. And and here's the thing, I've never had a digital comic, I've never had a physical comic where I'm reading it and I turn the page and there's a loading, still loading, buffering, and it's Comixology. I've had issues with them. I've sent their customer, their little help thing. What browser are you using? Chrome? Well, try using Firefox. I'm like, I'm going to go switch browsers just to read your digital comic.
Spike was telling me you can download the comics.
Not all of them. Image, you can download some Image books, most creator owned, but Marvel, DC, they won't let you download it for personal use. There's still DRM. Because there's some DRM free.
Fuck no.
Yeah, there's a comic I read, and I bought it, and I was either try to read it before work or take it with me, downloaded DRM and everything. It was that Brian K. Vaughan, Steve Scrossi.
I was thinking in getting in Comixology because what Spike told me, but I don't.
It's only optional on some. Yeah, I wouldn't unless you're going to be buying creator-owned works and stuff, which I bought in the past.
Well, I do buy that kind of stuff too, but I want to get in Comixology then because I want my comics in my PC.
Well, you can do that for non-Marvel DC for the most part.
No.
Yeah. But, the problem that digital has, digital is interesting. There's advantages to it. Obviously, I sell floppies, so I don't love digital, but the problem digital has is you're kind of giving away any concept that it's a collector's item. You're getting a digital file if you're just getting out of that side of the business. And for many people are just reading stories they don't.
Yes, exactly. Yes, you're right.
There's no future value to it. It's just data.
It's just data. And the other thing is, and this is something Comixology's got to face, and obviously my shop's up here in the shadow of Amazon, so we think about it all the time. And you don't have the trust from the readers that the comic is going to, that the data, if it's not on your PC, is going to be available to you forever. That
Exactly.
Business gets shuttered, and sorry, your library's gone. And that is.
And you have I don't know, $10,000 yours there.
Yeah, it's happened before.
Contract dispute. Say contract dispute between Marvel and Comixology, say Marvel Amazon or something. Disney wants them to pay a bigger cut or something, like they did the movie theaters, where you want to show Last Jedi, you got to give us more of a cut, that kind of thing. And they'll probably start doing the same for Infinity War and so on and so forth. But that contract dispute, well, I bought $20,000 worth of comics, whatever, say $2,000 worth of comics for Marvel books. Well, because of contract dispute, you don't have access to them. You bought them, and they were yours. But you don't have access to them, and nobody's going to come. It's like the whole thing. Nobody's going to come into my house and take my X-Men trade paperbacks and Spider-Man 2099 and when Marvel was putting out those amazing 12-issue plus hardcovers, the little oversized hardcovers when they did the Ultimate X-Men, the Bruce Jones, Incredible Hulk run, stuff like that. Yeah. In Ultimates, nobody's going to take those from me. But if I buy it digitally, contract dispute comes up. Or like, there's some kind of issue. Marvel's being sold to some Chinese conglomerate, and they don't have nothing to do. They want to do their own kind of comic app or something. Well, bye-bye to your Marvel comics chat on Comixology. We still got DC, but like that kind of thing. Who cares? It's like
your content disappears, and it can also change. One of the things Comixology said last year that a lot of people in my shop talked about, it didn't get a lot of press, is that they reserve the right to alter the comic later. So if for example, 2 years later, somebody within Marvel decides this comic wasn't PC enough, or there was some panel there they didn't like, and they want to go through and cut it and trim it. They do it online. You go try and read it later. You're going to read the new version. Your old version's gone. Maybe you don't care.
Yeah, or they don't like the costume because it shows too much skin.
Sure, they just edit it out digitally, and that's what you got.
Or the wording.
You know what that
George
reminds
Lucas
me of?
effect. George Lucas, the special editions, adding more rocks and R2D2.
Exactly.
No, that's pure hubris on George Lucas' parts towards his own work. Tom and Jerry, believe it or not.
Wow, really?
They now granted, I understand why they did it, but for the sake of posterity, they shouldn't have done it. They redubbed the Mammy voice.
Sure.
So
well, I understand that. I mean, that's I get that. Like, you have to have, because that's the thing. People forget.
No. I don't get it. Okay. Well, here's the thing. No. Here's the thing. Okay, it's like going back and taking Tarzan and editing each time the word Negro it's there, or doing the same with Huckleberry Finn. Okay,
yeah, true, but
it's not. I know that today is not kosher to use that word. Okay, but you have to look at the past and not try to impose your moral on it.
Right.
It's a I hate using it's a slippery slope, but it kind of is. It's like
It's tough. Some of the stuff in our history is obviously deplorable, and it's bad, and we've evolved past it. But if you try and erase or whitewash everything in the history, I mean, it's not that you're preserving it because you want to honor it. In some cases you're preserving it because you want to remember that you don't want to go back to that era. Or
exactly.
The fact that, I mean, there's the whole idea that people don't realize there's people today that they don't realize. U.S. government was locking up Japanese people on the West Coast and putting them in camps to prevent them from being spies. And when they got out, their businesses, their homes had already been taken from them. So when they got out, they had nothing. And that's and stuff like that. They don't realize that kind of aspect. And when you see the propaganda, the Fang, Tojo kind of stuff, for like the World War II propaganda.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you got to understand that these. To like say, that never kind of whitewash that. That stuff needs to be shown. It's like these are people that were not proven to be like there wasn't like, okay, there was some native-born Japanese that actually did something and then caused this. It's like, well, preventative measure, like, and yeah, it's pretty horrific stuff.
Well, there's
but if you don't remember story, you're doomed to repeat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like with the statues back there. Okay.
Well, especially in the South, yeah. I mean, that's...
I don't get it. Why you have to destroy the statue?
Well, there's like that right there. That's something I could get into, but it would be
if you want to take it. If you want to take it down and put it in a museum, for instance, I would understand. But how do I say this? Okay. Trying to prevent people from thinking or from thinking in a certain way never works.
It's the Streisand effect. It's
if you drive the Nazis, the Stormfax. What was the site? Stormfront.
Stormfront. Yeah.
You get them all out of the internet. Well, they go to the dark web.
Well, there's probably already some there, but
and now it's harder to see what they are doing, and there's nobody going to go there to argue with them. Only the people that are already agree with them are going to go there. So if you drive it underground, you can't argue with them. It's better to have them where you can see them.
Yeah, but when you drive something underground, and this is kind of like this is basically the past like 30 years in American politics. When you drive certain things underground, whether it be politics, culture, what have you, it's just going to go down there and fester, and the worst parts of it are gonna rise to the top. And all that's going to happen is it's gonna turn into what we've just saw. It's going to be this huge blowback in culture. Like. No one ever stopped to think, hey, what the hell are they teaching our kids in college? And then lo and behold, we have this huge, essentially, culture war going on right now. It's like they should, and for the most part, it's not so much the creators. The creators are kind of, I look at a lot of creators as victims in this too, especially like the older guys. Like, Dan Slott speaks for himself. Trust me on that. But I think he kind of just rode the wave of like the herd mentality. Hey, if everyone's doing this, I got to do it too. And who kind of brought this in? All these editors, all these pseudo executives, interns, what have you. They come into Marvel, they come into DC. They don't give a fuck about comics. They probably did at one point, and all they really do is just try to push their agenda. The professor's agenda.
Hey, wait a minute. Somebody's having an echo problem.
I think it's a rebirth. It was going through that channel right there, I believe.
Hello?
Hold on one sec.
Okay. But
Tim Doyle. Is he really Tim Doyle? I don't think so.
No, it's not him.
But well,
yes, I've seen Mark Wade show up in chats before too. Yes, Mark
really?
Wade. Yeah. Mark Wade, quote unquote.
Hey, Moctezuma.
Hey, we got Mark Wade live on the line right now. Hey, Mark, what are you gonna say to your boy Zach?
Doyle. It's Tim Doyle sucking something.
Yes. Well, you know how you say actually, with the mentioning driving underground and festering. Everybody's like, "Oh, modern day McCarthyism." Here's the thing: McCarthy wasn't wrong. There were communists in the Hollywood from the 1930s onward. They just drove them underground.
Went too far away.
Well, they didn't take it far enough. They drove them underground, and in doing so, they
exactly what I mean. They went too far. You don't want to drive them underground.
You need to arrest them, put them in jail.
You want to have them on the open, and you want to be able to argue with them to debunk their ideas. You know, you want to be able to label communism in the same level as Nazism, because both are evil ideologies.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yep. Well, no
Okay.
doubt, but
Well, look
No,
at
no, 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 no. Listen, they didn't did it in your country. They didn't do the same with the communists as with the Nazis. Okay.
Oh no,
Everybody,
we brought
Oh,
this
yeah,
up
everybody
Nazis here.
talks bad
Jobs in
about the
space
Nazis.
program.
Everybody talks bad about the Nazis, but everybody or most people give a pass to communism.
Oh yeah.
Well, we gave a pass to Nazis, Operation Paperclip. We said, hey, you Nazi scientists, we don't care if you kill people. We need you to work on rockets for us so we can bomb the Russians. Hey,
Yeah.
Nazis, we don't care that you kill people and had them put in death camps. You're good spies. Let's make you part of the CIA. Here, that's the thing about America. We sold our soul a long time ago.
That's messed up.
But that's the thing. People don't realize the fact that we, the CIA, Dulles and everything, and Prescott Bush, George H.W. Bush's father, W's grandfather, helped found the CIA alongside, and they were independent because they're a civil service and it isn't. They don't have to report to the president of the United States, no matter who it is. They're basically an independent entity within the United States government, which is kind of scary and X-Files like, but it's true. But they were, all the like when the anti-communist stuff was Nazi based, they hey, we round you up. You go out there and do your thing, but you report to us now. You don't report to Hitler. You report to America. But that's the world we live in now. I mean, we sowed the seeds of kind of our own kind of letting you let the college campuses
Listen,
explode in the 60s.
Listen. You think driving the commies underground was a good thing?
No, I said it was a bad thing.
No. You can't round them all up. It's what I'm telling you. You can't.
No,
you will never can.
Absolutely.
What you did was force them to change tactics, to rebrand, and then you get social justice.
They need helicopter rides, my friend. They need helicopter rides.
No. You need more free speech.
No, you're
always more free speech.
Well, how much more free can you get? I mean, I could go out right now. I could have a free speech rally carrying my 12 gauge and just stand out there with a bandolier around, just carry my 12 gauge and say whatever horrific thing I want. And at the end of the day, all they can say is, "See, he hates people. We need to throw him in jail." And well, how much more free speech can you get? But we're getting off topic here. With the comic stores,
actually not. Actually, no.
Oh, it's all tied together.
Part of the problem with comic books, it's the erosion of free speech in the society, not in the law, but in the society.
Yeah, in society, it's what's acceptable to say. How is it acceptable to portray Iceman in the 21st century? Is I think we are kind of going with that to kind of tie what we were just talking about into what's coming up next. I remember seeing some jacked up report where they were talking about Comicsgate. This came out like around the same time as Yellow Flash's list, and it was saying like for decades, in comic book shops, hatred and bigotry and sexism and every other ism has been brewing for millennia, and like they're just like kind of fever pitching where it's like you go into a comic shop, it's going to be the equivalent of going to a Nazi rally at Nuremberg. You're going to a Klan rally down south.
And a gang rape.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like every time I go to a comic shop, the only arguments are who would win in a fight, Batman or insert other superhero here. And then you're always going to have that one jackass say, Batman if he has enough time to prep.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's just like, get out of here with that. You want to know who's going to win any fight? Depends on who's writing it.
Well, yeah.
Well, no. Batman.
Only if it's Adam West.
No.
I think, and what I'm going to say may not be popular, but I think I've thought a lot about these creators and the editors and kind of the way things have gone, and is there some kind of ideology at play? I mean, there is, obviously, but the question I always have for this stuff is is why. When Marvel put out Iceman and they had that artist, that writer who was new to Marvel, and you looked at the first issue, you looked at the cover, you looked at how it was promoted. Everyone who came into the store, everybody who saw it, the people who worked in the store, myself, we all knew the title was going to be canceled within 10 issues. You knew it. It wasn't. It had nothing to do with the fact that he was gay or any of that stuff. It was just garbage. It was written bad.
Yeah,
it was bad.
Yeah.
It just wasn't
presented
good.
bad. It was just presented bad too. It's sold poorly.
Yeah.
Look, you gotta like look at those bad '80s action films. Andy Sidaros, who did a lot of basically his thing was tits and guns, explosions, and it was like that's basically his thing. Basically exploitation of the female form.
Oh, come on, that doesn't exist.
Oh yeah, of course not. But
No,
at least the posters look good. What I'm saying. Like you actually could sell but what they sold Iceman as is like, oh, it's like an indie comic, but it's Marvel, and like their saying is, you make an indie comic, you get indie sales. And I'm looking at
here's the problem. Here's the problem they had. Okay, the main problem they had was first they thought that only a guy man could write a guy character.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, of course.
Yes, that's their first problem.
That's
then you are shopping for a a gay guy. Okay, you're not shopping for the better writer to do the title. Yeah, the same thing they did with America and the fucking racist Gabi Rivera. And excuse my French, Robert.
Oh, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. The same thing they did. They went shopping for a brown Latina lesbian.
Yeah, they pulled up a bunch of resumes. Who fits this bill?
Yes, exactly. Not who writes best.
Yeah.
It's
it's true. But if you're at Marvel, and this is the question I'd love to know is, you're there, you're an editor, you're the editor in chief, you're Brevoort, you're whoever, you're Alonso. You want to keep your job. Your bosses is ultimately Disney. They are ruthless when it comes to profits. Granted, they're ignoring a lot of what's going on with comics right now because their attention's on studio, so it's an IP farm for the studio, and that's all fine.
Yeah.
But when you produce America and you produce Iceman, you produce Mosaic, and you produce these various titles, somewhere in the management chain, somewhere at the editor-in-chief level, you're looking at this stuff, and it's going to fail. No matter how deluded you are about whatever social issue you're pushing or who you hired or whatever else, you look at this first issue and you're like, this is going to bomb. And 50% or more of the titles I'm putting out right now won't move. We know they won't move. You have to be a complete idiot to think they're going to move. And
I don't think they know it won't move.
Well, you see, what I think they were doing, they were playing with the house's money.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree.
It's like we're Marvel. Like we've been building the most anticipated movie in a decade, and all of our titles are pushing. And at the time, at least from my perspective, was in 2014, 2015. They were just wrapping up, vamping up, and going into Secret Wars and wrapping that up. After that wrapped, that's when they went full SJW and all their shit titles, which leads us to today. But like that Hickman run on Avengers, both new Avengers and New Avengers, that was fucking amazing.
Well,
and then
Hickman's amazing. So
well, yeah, it goes without saying. But it's like even because there was undertones of it. Mark Waid's 2011 run on Daredevil, which is total shit. What was it? The Uncanny Avengers and their quote unquote Unity Squad. I'll give it up to Rick Remender. He can throw that out there and he can make it work in certain ways. He's a good storyteller. So it's just like, okay, now I can kind of see the parallels as to what's going on here and what's going on in the news. And it's not browbeating. It is kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it's good. It's going to push issues off the shelves.
It fit with AVX. It fit with where Remender, the problem is Marvel lost a lot of good writers who actually seemed to care about what was going on with each other's titles. So whether they talk to each other or extreme email, whatever, Remender's like, okay, you've got AVX coming out. I want to do something interesting coming out of it. And he built a title that was based on that platform, and it worked.
Just to kind of go off what you just said, he followed himself too, because he tied up story threads that he started in Uncanny X-Force.
Sure.
And when that all culminated at the very end, before it kind of rebooted into a new number one, it was just like, this is great continuity, great editing, great writing. The art's consistent across the board. Why can't we get more of this? Yeah.
It's very weird to be on the other end. You're the comic store owner. You're dealing with Diamond, who you hate. You're dealing with solicitations that seem like more and more they're written by children. A lot of people.
It's all hype. It's all hype.
It's bad hype. I mean, you read those descriptions; they're nonsensical. If you're a reader or a store owner, you're trying to figure out what to order, and you're getting, hey, let's see what happens in this issue with Deadpool. I mean, come on, nobody's buying a title off that.
Everyone knows what's going to happen in every fucking issue with Deadpool.
Yeah, it's just terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and so you're sitting there and you're trying to get these books ordered, and they're not selling, and people are not pre-reserving, and increasingly Marvel has the problem as they reboot. You're just giving people jumping off points, not jumping on points.
Exactly.
But here's the thing: you can't do jumping on points without constant reboots.
Well, you can do storylines. You see in the past, you can do new creative teams. When Hickman came on Fantastic Four, you had Miller before that, and you had the various eras. You can do things to make it reader friendly.
Yeah.
But when you do a number one, and it's so clear that the team on the new number one is trash, and it has nothing to do with the race, the gender, the sexuality, and all that. It's just they're untalented, and it comes through right from the beginning. Then people who have collected this title for 20 years say, I'm done, and move on to something else.
Or when there are making number ones every year.
Sure.
Spider-Man number one, Spider-Man number one, Spider-Man number one. Sooner or later, the fan says, fuck it.
Yeah.
It's there's only one word to describe that. It's fucking gratuitous.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, new number one. Marvel, it's not 1991 anymore. These number one issues don't sell. I can go to any comic book shop in at least 120 miles of where I live. I can get Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man number one, Jim Lee X-Men number one. I can get X-Force number one, Rob Liefeld, # fuck Liefeld.
Youngblood number one, Wildcats number one, Spawn number one. Surprisingly, it's that one you don't see that often. Surprisingly, I think that because that's actually pretty solid. But
Spawn and Wildcat, Spawn and Wildcats. Those are pretty solid titles. Youngblood was. If Liefeld could,
it's dog shit. No, there's no.
If Liefeld could have blown himself on the panel, that's what he would have fucking drawn. That's all it was. I used to like Liefeld. I used to stand up for him, but ever since he started fucking blockbotting people, and then I find out about this Kickstarter that he stole $35,000 from people and hasn't produced anything.
That's a fact.
Wait, what?
Yeah. 5 years back, he did a Youngblood Kickstarter where he was going to get comics out to fans. Basically,
someone is breathing in his mic.
My mic's like 2 feet away from my head, so
I think it's coming through Rebirth. But yeah, Liefeld did a Kickstarter raising all this money for Youngblood to get it to people. Basically, give free comics to people for Youngblood comics.
Yeah,
and in doing so, never released it. It's 5 years going on, no updates.
Oh,
and B. Clay Moore, who apparently has been, I've seen some people coming around to him because he's a bit not as aggressive as he was a couple weeks, maybe a month or two ago. But B. Clay Moore did this book called Hawaiian Dick, and it was a collection. It was a Kickstarter called Big Hawaiian Dick, and that's like 2-3 years ago. And there hasn't been an update since last October, if I'm not mistaken. And he's like, I'm gonna be updating it soon. That's like 4 months ago, so 4 to 5 months ago, and it was and if the thing about it is, if there's a non-disclosure agreement, because apparently I believe I read, and I can't find it. I've Google search, can't find where I've read this at, that Big Hawaiian Dick was supposed to be one of these. There was options as a TV show. So if there's an option, which means it might not be able to actually put anything out because it's not legalities, but at least he could say, I cannot talk about this Because even if you're under a non-disclosure,
I can talk about this. Here's your money.
Yeah, exactly. You're supposed to get at that point. If you put say $90 into this book, say you got like the higher tiers or something, and you're gonna go through a small claims court to get this money back. Like it's at that point, it's almost like, well, what's the point? It's a matter of principle, but you're gonna spend more money trying to get it back than you would ever. It's like just letting them keep it. But that's just how.
He's used the example. A couple people are of these NDAs. They do these Kickstarters and they don't deliver on them. And he's like, well, there's some other stuff going on. I got an NDA. I can't say about it.
Exactly.
That all sounds nice, but it's not legally true. NDAs cannot exist in cases where you defraud people, and not paying on a contract is defraud. So NDAs can't cause you to be silent in a case of payment or fraud. You cannot use NDAs can certainly restrict what you can say. NDAs can force you to not talk about the project, but you can't just go silent and not pay people. That is fraud.
Exactly. But but people are willing to give him and Rob the benefit of the doubt. But as I mentioned yesterday, how can you trust? It's your fault for trusting a guy whose name is Rob Liefeld. So I love that. That's perfect. That matches up with
Yeah.
The guy, like the worst thing about it.
Sorry. Retro.
Oh, sorry. It's his name speaks for itself.
Exactly. The weirdest thing is, I have the young. God help me. I have the Youngblood hardcover. I have a wall of '90s trash comics, including Youngblood, that first collection. Yes, go ahead, hang up on
'90s trash comics. No shame, bro.
I have it.
But I have it. But the back of it.
I'm happy with it.
Well, the back of it actually has early Liefeld art, like when he was working at DC, when he was working on Youngblood for the first time. It looks like a totally different artist, but it's him. It looks very George Perez a little bit. I'm like, where is this, Rob? Rob, you actually can do good art. What the hell happened to you? I think because Marvel did pluck him away from DC.
He went to Cal Arts.
Well,
Perfect.
But yes, when you're dealing with new number ones and you got customer confusion, and you have these series that they start, and like you said, the Iceman. I looked at the Iceman number 7. I can't remember which issue. I think it went up to issue 8 and it got canceled. But issue 7 only selling 12,677 copies. That's the stores, of course, ICV2 charts for November of 2017. But that's pathetic for that's a indie level title, because around it is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Gravediggers Union, which is the Image book and stuff like that. It's like these comics should not be selling. They used to sell, if they sold less than like 100,000 copies, they cancel it. Now it's 12,000. Like the lowest one on the rung is what 4,000 copies.
Marvel has 6,000 copies issues comics now.
Well, the lowest Marvel,
and they used and remember 70s, well before the comic boom. 70s, 60,000 was cancellation numbers.
Well, at that time, it was a little bit more complicated system, because you had, you had the subscriptions, as well as you didn't just have you didn't have the direct market settled in like it was through the 80s.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking at the lowest Marvel selling book is actually Marvel Zombies. Oh my God, there's actually a Marvel Zombies book. God help us all.
Right.
But Marvel Zombies, Marvel Zombies Assemble is 2, number 4, at 4,943 copies. But $5 for this trash comic that's only not even breaking 5,000 copies to a store.
Yeah,
and
that's pathetic.
I sold because we counted up. I sold 3 copies of the latest Iceman in the store. 3. My store is located in a shop that should be extremely friendly to that type of content. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't matter. We have tons of people who come in. I've made the point before on Twitter and other places. People will buy, people of color. They'll buy gay character. They'll buy all that stuff. They're happy to do it. In some cases, they're looking for it, but they won't buy garbage. And the content has nothing to do with the fact that Iceman is garbage as a comic. Nobody wants it. And believe me, as a store owner, I would love to sell hundreds of copies of Iceman. If there was a market for it, you know, hallelujah. You can make him completely gay. I don't care. If it's good quality content and it was selling, awesome. You put Grant Morrison, Frank Quiley on it, and it will sell hundreds of copies with him being gay all day long. Probably not. But I'm saying I don't inherently care if the titles sell, but these titles they're putting out do not sell. Nobody wants them.
Exactly. I know what you mean. You as a dealer, you don't care about the books that they are putting out, just that the books are selling. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
but and here's the thing. Okay, they love to tell us that the books aren't selling because we're bigots. We're homophobes, sexist, racist, Nazis, blah, blah, blah. But nobody made a fuss about Midnighter and Apollo.
Yeah, no one gave a shit about that.
No,
that was groundbreaking.
And moreover, most of us, well, the people that I have talked with, like it. I have all the books where they have been.
Yeah, The Authority was a great comic. I mean, you look at that then and now, and it's stuff back then. Nobody cared about that. You might have one or few people, but you know, I remember I was a comic store.
There must be some.
Well, there were some. I encountered when the Ultimate X-Men did the whole reveal that Ultimate Colossus was gay, and this upset this guy. He's like, I'm not going to read this trash anymore. You know, this and that. And
that was one guy.
One guy, and I made the joke that now still Colossus is steel jacketed for his pleasure, and the guy looked at me disgusted. Actually walked out the store, and it was like one of these things because this guy was such a jackass. It's a comic. Guess what? Colossus at this time had not been brought back. This was right. Oh, he had been brought back because it was after 2004. It was after Astonishing. Yes, it was right to the Whedon run. So he couldn't complain because they hooked up Kitty but they weren't really doing much with him at the time.
Yeah.
But this whole idea, it's like if you don't want to read Ultimate X-Men, don't read it. You know, if that's that bad, exactly, drop it. Guess what? There's other books out there at this time. It was just funny how to see a comic upset somebody like that, but that's so rare. But I've seen it more than one occasion. But I used to hang out at the comic store from opening, right before opening, because they'd actually let me in, and I actually would assist, put some stuff up and this and that, and then after closing, because I would do this every Wednesday for like 3 years. Like I was almost like I'd take Wednesdays off. I'd have scheduled off Wednesdays from work so I could actually just go hang out at the comic store. It was nice. It's like being like go do like a food run. Yeah. It was, but now you can see some of these stores that like the traffic, the content of the books coming in, and you can see it on some retailers' faces. I've been to shops, down the East Coast, up and down the East Coast, and you see on some of these people's faces, it's like almost like, please buy these books. It's almost desperation, and I understand where they're coming from because it's like you don't buy, the store closes, and that just doesn't hurt the owner; it hurts everybody else in that area because you get used. It's a habit. It's like you go to this favorite restaurant. Well, don't worry about it. There's another restaurant across the street. It doesn't matter. That's not the one I want to go to.
Yeah,
it's like, and there's people that don't understand. Like, oh, just grow up. It's just a comic store. Where you insert whatever thing you like going to, because it's a community, and that's what people don't realize.
That people aren't real geeks.
Well, they don't understand. It's like if I were to tell them, like, if they're, grow up in this and that, but I tell them, your football game's more likely rigged and it's a bunch of millionaires playing, slapping each other on the ass. So you're calling my thing more stupider than yours.
Larry, I'll do you one better on that. Look how many people absolutely lose their shit when somebody gets traded from a fucking team.
Oh, God, you made me think of the fantasy football people.
My fucking God.
They're worse than the like,
you're a fucking D&D nerd. It's just instead of a fucking mage, you're a quarterback. Go fuck yourself. All right.
Exactly. D&D, you actually have to be creative. Fucking fantasy football, you're up there. It's like, oh God, it's like I've seen kids come up with better games than that. I mean, dear God.
I'm a kind of sports fan.
Okay.
And even I
Sorry.
don't. No problem. And even I don't get.
I'm not actually sorry.
And even I don't get the fantasy football shit.
Oh,
Well, it's like, oh god, it's pathetic.
I
really.
don't get it either, to be
What,
honest.
what's the appeal?
It's betting for it's betting without having a lot on the line. it's betting
Well,
without taking a big
I
risk.
would rather bet in the.
casinos.
I don't know if you have it there. Here there are some.
Cockfighting.
No. Those two, but no. No, you here you can bet in
Cockfighting. No, we do real people. It's Thunderdome down in Mexico.
No. Yes,
2
too.
minutes and 1 minute leaves.
There was todo vale in California. There was todo vale there until someone got killed. So yes, but no, here you can bet on teams, on sports. There's this kind of lotto where they
Bookies.
No. It's from the government mainly and one other enterprise now. And you get the teams that are playing on this week, and you get to choose who's gonna win, and you can say by 1 goal or 2 goals or whatever. They do it with American football too.
Okay.
They do it with I think with baseball too.
That makes sense.
It's legal.
Yeah.
And you feel some kind of like your lotto.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
kind
it's
of like
OTB
that.
a little bit.
But with
It's like old school OTBs.
Well, they got similar things over in Canada, over in the UK. It's just for whatever reason in the United States, we put a stigma on gambling because it's tied into alcohol.
Well, it's
in
not only that.
Mexico, there's even more stigma here. The casinos can't call themselves casinos. They are not really legal, but they are being allowed to operate. And people make the sign of the cross whenever you tell them you should legalize everything.
Well, it's
Oh,
not
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, how dare you?
Well, it's not only the the stigmatized. It's like, here's the thing: like, people don't realize that Joe Kennedy, JFK's father, that he made his fortune off of booze running during Prohibition, and they got to think, okay, he had connects with mob and underworld stuff because they had the whole Cuba thing going on, everything before the communist uprising. So you got to think, if you had mob connections to senators, wouldn't you want to keep gambling illegal because you can make much more profits, no taxation, no nothing like that? And you look at these people, it's like, no, it's like, we got to do this because we got to keep this illegal because of moral concerns. Like, no, I can make so much profit without taxes and people ain't looking over my shoulder. Yes, I have to kill people, but so does the government.
I'm gonna make a recommendation based on that one, Larry. Did you ever see the movie? Anyone here ever see the movie The Last Boy Scout?
Oh, sure.
Yes.
That's one of the best, most underrated movies of the 1990s. That was the plot of the film.
Yeah.
You had the mob. Spoiler for a fucking almost 30-year-old film. You had the mob. Basically, they're trying to bribe a senator so they can keep their billion-dollar books like not legal, but to themselves. Because if gambling went legit, that's billions of dollars for them out the window.
Yeah. That's the thing about that's the thing about what people don't realize with
now.
The system, and the system's a broken system. I mean, like letting Diamond a monopoly keep running because Marvel and DC stepped in and didn't want to shut them down, have it shut down because it would screw them up. But if I honestly, I wonder, experiment. What if like what Daltrona does, where they can get in touch with retailers and actually sell directly from, they get it printed up at the printers. Peter Simeti sends it out to retailers that want to buy. Like, hey, we want this many books, we want that many books. If Marvel, they have if Peter Simeti can do it, a one-man operation, Marvel and DC Image, they couldn't have the same kind of deal where retailers
can, but they don't.
They could.
It's
they
hard.
don't care.
Yeah, it's a very hard situation. I mean, the Peter Simeti and what he does is awesome. But for you have different scenarios. So Marvel, it's too small for Disney to care, and that sounds sad, but it's true. It's just it's too small for it to be an issue. DC doesn't have really the infrastructure. They're just not operationally built. They have the money, but not the infrastructure to do it. Image could do it. I think that there's some dysfunction within that part of their group. But here's my crazy prediction that you'll see out of Marvel. But I believe it's true, and I hear rumblings about it. In the next 2 to 3 years, Marvel will have the opportunity to bail out a Diamond. And a lot of people say, no, it's not possible. The contract's been signed, but it is. It's coming up where they'll have the opportunity to move out. The odds of Marvel buddying up with somebody like Amazon and just distributing through that way, it would make a lot more sense for them. And
but how about the comic book, the comic stores?
The comic stores that either buy through Amazon or get screwed.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Basically they're going to exchange Diamond for the devil you don't know.
Yeah. And
Bezos, he's a part of it. He's got FBI and CIA connections. I mean, he owns the Washington Post. I mean, this guy, Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon.
Yeah,
he's a part of. He's got CIA and FBI connections. I think NSA as well. I think the NSA has him.
Well, let's be fair here. I'm pretty sure Perlmutter has connections to the Mossad, but that's just me kind of snowballing.
Well, I'm pretty sure Perlmutter is Dorian Gray, considering the guy. You know, he doesn't show up in public, or a vampire.
How many indie comics have you discovered lately?
Is that just a general question for everybody?
Yeah, for everybody. Let's go down the line. Retro, hit us, man.
Let's see here. To be quite honest, not many, because I'm just kind of rediscovering comics after taking a 2-year hiatus. I kind of got back into it during the summer. If I see something on the shelf, I'll take a gander at it. But to be quite honest, the last 2 quasi-big indie titles, or at least big name doing indie titles, was Black Science from Rick Remender and Manhattan Projects from Hickman, because those guys are fucking solid.
Okay. Rebirth?
Let's see now. Not.
Oh.
I want to say most of my stuff is rap comics, but indies. Let's see. Spawn I just got into, so there's that.
Yeah.
I actually need to check some more indies out, to be honest.
I know.
The older Spawn, the older or the newer stuff?
Yes, the older.
The older 90s.
Oh, okay, good choice. Good choice.
Rebirth. I'm going to make a recommendation real quick. The Sam and Twitch run back from the, I think, late 90s. Brian Michael Bendis did that. Don't let him fool you. Bendis is an amazing fucking true crime writer. Amazing. He did a lot of work, self-published work on Image.
Powers is a record. Is a must.
Torso. He did the Torso, which is the story of Elliot Ness after he left Chicago, went to Cleveland. The Torso Killer. I think he did the artwork as well, and it's almost done up in the style of Sin City, where it's negative space. So definitely check those out.
All right.
Larry?
Yes, for me, when it comes to the indie stuff, I picked up Slots, which is actually Dan Panosyan.
Not Dan Slott.
But not Dan Slott, but Panosyan, who did the we did those like fake X-Men comics for Logan. But nice. It was one of those things. It's actually really good. It's a kind of noir crime, kind of like the movie Casino. Not to mention Alterna books, as well as what was the other one? Kill or Be Killed, the Brubaker crime book, which is just downright beautiful.
That's a great book.
Yeah, and like I've been going back and picking up. I went through my hardcovers collection. Went through and picked them back up. Black Sad, which if it's kind of anthropomorphic animal neo noir or classic noir actually. It's incredible, beautiful beautifully drawn, written. But yeah, amazing stuff.
Yeah. Comics?
Yeah, I mean, I'm having trouble. I have trouble. For me personally, I still like a lot of Reminder does. They're always good reads. I think Black Science is good, depending on your mood. Some of the other titles he puts out are nice. I've been going through and looking at a lot of Hickman stuff before he came to Marvel. Even the God is Dead type titles, and those are. I mean, there's a lot of good work from authors who are, were at Marvel a couple years ago and have since moved on. That if you go back and read some of their back stuff, it's just you can get most of it pretty cheap, and it's good reads. So I need to start publishing some more recommendations up actually of older stuff you can pick up cheap.
Quick question for you, Guy. Did you ever read Nightly News from Hickman? I think that was his very first foray into comics.
Yes, and you can go all the way back, and his stuff is solid from day one almost.
Oh yeah, it's tight. It's tight as hell.
Nightly News and Pax Romana, those two, like, when I met him back in 2008, I met him the day I was talking to him. He said, "Come back after. I'll be here after lunch. You want to continue talking? Just come back after lunch." And he's like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't get back right away because he got a call from Marvel." And that's when he got the gig for Secret Warriors with Bendis, where they were had him co-writing with Bendis until he took over Secret Warriors himself, and then that led to that amazing Shield book, which I still wonder why that got shafted.
No, May. It's finally going to end in May. Finally.
Okay.
Brylon.
Finally.
Damn time. But that's like that when they open that up and you see Insaban or Apocalypse, you see Imhotep and all this and that versus a horde of brood in the sands of Egypt with the Great Pyramids in the background. Like, yes, I want this comic.
Yes, and the thing is, like, it's just that one page where you see all that shit, and it's like, this is about to fucking go. Oh man, and it's a different story altogether.
Exactly. But even with that, the book killed it. It was an amazing book, and the whole Nikola Tesla thing, and Howard Stark, and was it not Ben Richards? Yeah, I want to say Ben Richards, but that's Running Man.
Nathan Richards.
Nathan Richards.
Here's the thing, Braylon.
I don't know if he's back yet.
Oh.
I don't think Braylon's back yet.
Here's the thing: you need to, if you want to get some new indies, you need to pick up Bonehead.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
Yeah,
it's great book, great art, very well written.
I saw
really sequential art. Really, you can almost follow the story without reading it. It's really good. It's kind of old style comics, more not almost 90s, but or maybe 90s, but the good ones.
Yeah,
I saw Diversity in Comics review of that. I think it was like the second issue or something, and to me, it just kind of harkened back to some stuff that like some Jack Kirby experimental from like the 70s. Almost kind of like Fourth World type stuff.
Kind of, yes. And it also looks kind of a video game and manga.
Yeah, it's a good book.
Yeah, it's a very, very good book. And if you like horror, there's Blean right now, number 1. Black and white, but good book. What?
Ooh.
Number 1 issue.
Yes. The first issue. And there was another one. Let me see if I have it here in my database. Oh, what was the name?
I do want to say this real quick about comics and monochrome. Anybody who has a problem with that, like, kiss my ass, because you don't need 4 colors. You don't need 4 colors to convey a great story. And I'm not going to go like, go read Akira before they colorize it, or go read Full Metal Alchemist. I'm not going to go the manga route. When Marvel launched the Max line back in the early 2000s, it was
U.S. War Machine.
U.S. War Machine. Thank you.
Yes, that right. Chuck Austin, baby.
My God. Oh, Chuck Austin for the fucking win. Like that monochrome
MODOK.
the whole time. Oh yeah.
That where
It's like,
skin
hello,
killed off
MODOK.
his face. Oh my god! And Dark Hawk with
Yep.
like his Evangelion looking Dark Hawk who's in a simulation because if he realizes he's on the helicarrier, he'll go and kill everyone.
Yeah. It's just like they took this awesome fucking, basically at that time War Machine was a dead character, for lack of a better term. Rhodey wasn't in the comics. They had no idea what to do with him. They only brought him back in the mid-late 2000s. They took this character, they made a really good concept out of it, printed I think, what was it, like 12 or 13 issues, something like that.
Yeah.
It was a weekly. It was in black and white, and it cost a fucking $1, like $1.25 at the time when comics were starting to breach like $2.50, $3 a pop. So here you go, and no ads either. Black and white, no ads.
Newsprint too. Newsprint as well.
Yeah,
Newsprint.
it was high quality newsprint, but it was still newsprint. And those comics were fucking dry. And Larry, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yes. We all know.
I mean, it was, and I love that patch on when you flip it over the back of the comic. There was no ad or anything because no ads in the book because of being Max. But the back of the comic had this fake military patch. It's half War Machine's face, and I think half was half a skull, if I'm not mistaken.
Skull, yeah.
And it's like the lightning bolt, U.S. War Machine, relentless, invincible, and I'm like, yes, like I could see that. That was great. I love that comic. That was fantastic.
And the thing is, it was also, it was a product before its time, but it was a product of its time because it launched just before 9/11 happened.
Yep.
And at one point, they referenced 9/11 happening in one of the later issues when it was closer to wrapping up. And it was just one of those things where it wasn't like this huge big deal out of it. It's just like, no. I gotta, like somebody in one of the War Machine armors, like, I got a score to settle with you guys. And you know what he's referring to. It was referential without being on the nose. So that's what I like about that. But
it wasn't Dr. Doom crying in the rubble of the Twin Towers, which
don't get me wrong, that was a seminal issue of Amazing Spider-Man, but it's just like, why?
Yeah, real people died. Real people died, and so now I got to pay this much money to see Dr. Doom and Magneto and them crying. Like Kingpin was there.
Okay, I found it. Time
Got
Grunt. Yeah, Time Grunts.
Time Grunt.
Time Grunts. It's also issue number 1.
Okay.
Let me see.
Right.
It's okay. Yes, it's by Caliber Comics.
Caliber. I haven't heard of them in a while.
Yeah, and there was a Night Slinger. I haven't finished reading that one yet, but that was looking Night Linger, not Night Slinger. I wrote it bad.
Night Slinger sounds kind of dirty.
No, Night Linger.
Night Linger.
Night
Linger.
Linger. Yeah, I can
It
write.
sounds kind of dirty. It's like okay, we're done. You can go now, and it's hanging around.
No. It's a supernatural group.
I thought you were going home. No, I'm going to linger.
Yeah, the Night Linger is also black and white. The other one was the name? I forgot again.
I forgot.
I have nothing.
All I hear in my head, all I see in my head is Mac from Always Sunny as Nightman.
Yeah, I know.
But doing his kung fu moves, lingering around.
Time Grunt. That was that
Time Grunt,
one is in color, and it's also really good. Yes, in the Monstro Mechanica is really good too.
One book you need to avoid is Divine Right by Jim Lee. I'm staring it in the face right now, and I kind of want to throw it across the room. That's one of the worst comics ever made.
Skyborn.
Oh, Frank Cho's book. That one's good.
Skyborn.
I've heard.
Frank Cho all day. Frank Cho is a fucking stink.
And have any of you read Sword of Ages?
My store didn't have it. My store sold out of it.
Oh, you don't know, man. It's good.
Not a heavy print run. It's hard to find.
It's really, really
that's
good.
unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
It's really, really
sounds
good.
good.
Yes.
It looks beautiful.
Really
It's like Mobius. It's like classic Mobius work. Before he did the Orderowski books, before he kind of his style kind of got a little weird in places.
Yeah.
Well, he was much older then. I mean, he was like about in his 70s at the time. So
Yeah. And from Dynamite, legendary Red Sonja.
Oh, the good Red Sonja book.
Ah, legendary. It's a steampunk.
Yep.
Red
Oh,
Sonja.
Steve. Okay.
Yes, it's good. Issue number 1. Yes.
Okay, I
So
definitely
you should
check that out.
try to check
Number
that.
one milestone issue. Buy 5 of them. Gotta put your kids to college.
Exactly.
And you were talking about crime books. Try
Yes.
to find Hard Case Crime.
Hard
Try
Case Crime.
Yes. Try to. That's the publisher. Try to find Quarry's War.
You have to maybe put some links up after the live stream for these things, because I'm not gonna be able. I am not taking notes. I'm not gonna be able to remember this.
Yes.
Too many.
Same for me.
And it's a combination. There's new stuff that's good out that we should get out circulated. There's also, I mean, there's good runs that are cheap. I was mentioning Hickman earlier. I was just looking up. You can get almost the entire run of Manhattan Projects really cheap right now, or at cover in most cases, and that's a great run too. So there's a lot of good stuff out there that's old.
So I want to touch base on something that you guys were talking about probably like 10, 15 minutes ago, and it was the name of the book's up. Midnighter and what's his name now?
Apollo.
Authority.
Apollo?
Yeah, Authority.
Authority.
Yeah, the Authority, right?
So during that time, that was when early 2000s. So that's when Grant Morrison took over on the X-Men. Now, in all honesty, love him or hate him, I don't have an issue with Grant Morrison because he knows how to world build. Even if his head is up his ass, he knows how to world build.
Exactly.
And when he did the X-Men, when he did New X-Men, I think that started 2001.
Yep. July 2001, issue number 114.
Yep. And what happens is you read that, it was a total transformation from the classic world that like Claremont set up with the help of Silvestri, with the help of Jim Lee, so on and so forth. And it kind of like severed what like Scott Lobdell, Joe Casey, and all them were doing at the time. So just like, nope.
Yep.
The X-Men, they still they kept Uncanny X-Men, which kind of harkened back to that heyday. But for the most part, New X-Men was a spotlight. If you read that, like you read that today, like you look at it, it could seem like it's cringy SJW bullshit, but it's coming from like the whole crux of what he was doing is just like he wanted to create mutant culture, like mutant fashion designers, mutant recording artists who only record on a frequency that like certain mutants can hear. So it's just like you're like he's trying to cater inside the world. He's trying to cater to like the SJW crowd, like all the people who are all about like mutant rights, this, that, the other thing. And if you look at it from the audience perspective, you can see how fucking cringy half that shit is, but it played into the narrative of the whole thing. Like Kid Omega and how it's just like, oh, like, you know, we're going to fuck everything up. Magneto was right, all that stuff. And it just, the way it kind of ended was, you know, it
was a bullshit ending, yeah.
It was definitely politics outside of the story, like real world politics that kind of ended that story. But yeah, it did end in kind of a bullshit way.
Well, he ended unexpectedly. He was going to go for longer, and he got other.
What was it? Paul Jemnis, who was the publisher at Marvel at the time. Yeah, that guy was an asshole.
But you know,
I've heard.
No, he has that rep. But it's funny you bring all this up because I think this is my big, not disagreement, but when I hear certain things, you know, different podcasters, DNC, others talking about SJWs and comics and other things. I mean, the Authority, the early runs with Ellis and then Miller and I mean, they were complete, what we would call today as very SJW topics. I mean, these superheroes are taking over the world. They show them punching Republicans.
But it's not the
well,
it's not the topic. It's not the type of character either.
But
the execution.
Right, exactly. The quality of the book was strong. So you're reading this, and it's total what I think a lot of creators want to do today, but they're incompetent. They can't.
Yes.
They can't
Well,
do
that's
it.
the thing. Like they're like the common thread between all those writers, Morrison, Miller, Warren Ellis, even Garth Ennis to a certain degree,
Miller.
Yeah.
they're all British or Irish or what have you. So they have like a common like their culture is completely different from American culture, but
Dang foreigners.
Yeah.
Their terms.
they're
Ruh, ruh, ruh.
like I don't want to say traditionally, but like Britain's more of a left leaning country, and they're more of a little bit more of a left leaning society.
It
So
was.
when they're doing that, they're kind of looking at this from their political spectrum. It's individual rights as opposed to the religious right.
Sure.
And it was their fight to get into power, and now it's a diametric opposite where it's just like people don't want to have political correctness crammed down their throat. It's the opposite side of the coin of like the religious right of it's authoritarianism just from the other side, essentially, is what I'm trying to say.
The quote unquote
Yeah.
tolerant left.
Here's the
That
thing.
idea.
Here's the thing. Did you see the DC panel where they were talking with the writer for Midnighter and Apollo?
Yeah, Steve Orlando.
Yes, Steve Orlando. Yeah. Well, I got in touch with him in the Twitter, and I asked him when are we getting a gay villain, a gay bad guy, and he said, "Oh, we still have a lot of work to do." I don't think so, because if you want to be normal, if you want to be seen as anybody else, you have to recognize that there are good people and bad people everywhere.
Sure.
Now,
I don't think Milo Yiannopoulos would license himself to be in a comic book. He is the most super villain on the internet.
Oh God, there's so much I want to talk about real quick.
Midnighter and Apollo are gays and are badasses, and they were kicking ass.
Great character. Great
Yeah.
character.
Solidly written, yeah.
And Jenny Sparks was bisexual.
Well,
She would fuck anything that got in her way.
the Doctor was a drug addict.
Yeah.
You know, they're all. I mean, but the interesting thing about those storylines is they definitely hit those topics. They presented them in a good way. I mean, in a well written way, but those writers were also smart enough to not be crazy about their politics. The Authority did have storylines where they went too far with what they were trying to do in terms of social justice, and it backfired on them, and they had to deal with those consequences. It showed all sides. And I think you see these current crop of writers who grew up on Ellis and Miller and content like that, but they don't have the skill. So they're trying to mimic this kind of social message in the comics. It's why you see people, you know, every time a new writer comes on the X-Men, they want to have them playing softball again. It's like every 3 issues are playing softball. That worked for Claremont because he would do it, you know, once every few years. But these writers don't have the talent, so it's every couple issues they want to recreate those moments. And
it would be like you bookend a story with that. Like it starts off at a cool
and here's the thing, okay? I disagree with a lot of books. They are saying it's SJW, it's SJW. Most of the time, either the critic didn't understand, or is putting the SJW because it gives him views. I think. Okay.
That's also what you carry.
For instance, okay. For instance, issue number 1, kick ass.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not
SJW. The new number 1 issue?
The new number 1, yes.
I was just going to mention the same thing.
It's not SJW. I had to read it 2 times after watching that video, and it's not SJW. And if you tell me that in those panels you thought those were cables and not bullets, tell me how the cables were felling the people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I liked the new Kick-Ass. I thought the new issue was fine. I liked, you know, it was fine issue. I didn't get the big social justice comment there. I get
yes, neither did I.
It was a solid comic. I mean, God,
She says something about a crazy orange billionaire, and then she talks of how flyover states were forgotten by the politicians. So it's not democratic talking points, it's not liberal talking points, it's more conservative talking points.
It's like centrist, more
I-
centrist than
Yeah,
anything because
I
like
think so. I
But-
think so. But first,
Yeah.
she talks shit, if you will, about Trump, if you will. And the next panel, she's
Hey,
telling-
welcome back.
hey,
Hey guys, how's it going?
she's
Hey,
telling
right.
you how the politics forgot about the middle America. You know, so how can it be SJW? The character isn't perfect. The character has flaws. She doesn't win in one punch.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, if you tell me, okay, all the military stuff is wrong, okay, fine, I believe you. Okay, that's a valid criticism. But if you tell me that you bought the first Kick-Ass being a stupid geek in a costume and goes out and really kicks ass,
It's gonna get fucked up.
Well,
Yes.
that's what happened. That's
Yes.
what happened in the first issue. He goes
That's
out,
the whole point
he gets,
of
he gets
exactly,
the shit
but
kicked out of him.
he would get killed.
Well,
Well,
that's
that
the
was-
whole thing. He basically
Let's be
almost
honest.
died.
Yeah,
He
that
should
was-
have been killed.
That's the
And
whole plot.
you
Yeah.
don't buy that special forces trained woman can do the same thing.
Now, here's something that I'm gonna share. Now, I'm no fucking expert, but I know plenty of people who, over the years, have trained in various martial arts, trained in military police, so on and so forth. And when it comes to like martial arts training, more often than not, and I'm not talking like choreograph where it's like kung fu or anything like that. I'm talking like Krav Maga, like
Yes.
that contact self defense. First thing they tell you to do, it's use the Nike defense. Run the fuck away. If you have to fight, fight. But the first thing you do is run.
Yes.
Because more often than not, someone's gonna try to get the upper hand if they're gonna cost you. They're gonna pull a knife, they're gonna pull a gun, they're gonna attack you from behind, they're gonna jump you in numbers. And now the thing is, I understand it's supposed to be a deconstruction, if you will, of the superhero comics, Kick-Ass.
Yes.
The first run is like basically like, I understand what Miller was doing. I actually thought it was pretty good. Where it's just like, why wouldn't you want to be a superhero in the age of in the age of social media? This time around, I think it's like, okay, well, you have all these people returning from Iraq, Afghanistan, conflicts
Yeah.
all over the world, returning back to the United States. What are they going to do if they can't find work? Well, in all honesty, like not everybody's the fucking Punisher, and the other thing is not everybody sees combat. There are plenty of people that do. Don't get me wrong, but there's people who don't see combat. It's just like, yes, anecdotal, but a friend of mine, he was in the Marine Corps for 6 years. He was behind a desk. He never got.
Well,
he never got
yes,
to work.
but the character wasn't like that. She saw combat.
Yeah, no, and I get that, but like even like special forces, they're not going to teach you. Okay, you're outnumbered. You're outnumbered. Like, don't fight them straight on. Like, take them out one by one if you have to. But if you don't have to fight, get the fuck out of there. Is what I'm
If
trying
you're and if you're captured,
to say. If
you
you're
run.
captured,
You're fucked.
yeah, you're
you
fine.
fight.
Orange jumpsuit and knife time for you. That's what's going to happen.
Disappeared.
Okay,
Yeah.
the fight might not be realistic, but fuck, man, it's
I mean,
comics. We
yeah.
don't want realism.
I want to
Okay.
see. I want to see Spider-Man uppercut somebody 5 stories. I want to see like a Marvel
Yes,
versus
exactly.
Capcom style fight.
It's
You know?
Yeah,
Exactly.
the 90s comics were filled with, I mean, you're not looking for realism here, but
No.
I mean, look, I'm, by the way, I've got to run. I got to close up shop here, and it's
All
been
right.
wonderful talking to you
Okay.
guys. But I just want to say that, you know, in grand scheme, if Kick-Ass was the biggest problem with comics right now because it had some, you know, a joke about Trump, that is a wonderful world to live in.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
That would be
I
nice.
sold piles of Kick-Ass. I bring Kick-Ass on all day long. More Kick-Ass for us.
Yes. Yes. It was good.
All
I
right.
have to.
But thank you for stopping by Comics
the
Perch.
next
We'll have you again soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
Cheers, everybody. Great time.
Yep.
All right,
All
take
right,
care.
man.
man.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.
Cheers, man.
Uh,
Sounds like somebody's like hang it like hanging a pot together.
It's true, you know. We're some of us got our glasses on, ideological glasses, and are searching for everything that could be SJW.
Well, that's
So
the problem.
everything is SJW.
And when you start searching for the shadows, you're going to find them. But it might not be there really. You might be seeing things, you know?
You know how people saying, like you were saying, the Kick-Ass, people looking at Kick-Ass, like certain reviewers and stuff, because, you know, oh, Trump, this, that, whatever. You want to know an SJW comic? And I got it right behind me. Black Summer by Warren Ellis and Juan Jose Rip. Ever heard of it?
No.
No.
Yes.
Okay. It is by Bleeding Cool's owners, Avatar.
Yep.
Wow.
So before they bought
Okay,
it.
yeah, that makes sense.
I'll tell everybody else. Anybody ever read Crossed?
Yes, I read the first issue and I threw it
I
in the
guess
trash.
me too.
No.
It's like it's everything disgusting, but it's not in a. It was like, oh yeah, we're gonna be this outrage comic by Warren Ellis, and I believe it was
It was Garth Ennis and
Garth Ennis and Mike Wolfer, I believe. I think it's
Yeah.
Mike Wolfer. But Black Summer.
Yeah, go on.
The premise of Black Summer is a guy, the superhero, government created superhero, goes to the White House and kills George W. Bush, and then goes on the camera. I've killed the president, and like government and military are all after him. And, you know, it's like the kind of ramifications of killing the president because of illegal war in Iraq and everything. And it's just.
And he gets his old superhero team back together and everything.
Exactly. It's just one of these. It does like the Zero issue. Of course, I had a Zero issue. The Zero issue where he kills Bush in the Oval Office and everything. That's the cover. It's, you know, you open it up and that's the cover of the Oval Office where there's like body parts everywhere.
Bullets and shit. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's just like, you know. It's
like
kind of
sound like a comic I want to ever read.
Yeah, it's Impotence, the comic book. See how strong I am? I killed Bush, man.
Well,
or America.
Nothing special.
Well, yeah, it's like that's the thing. It's like it's just it's like, okay, we see what you did. What else you got? You know, and that's the worst thing about it. It's like you have the pedigree of Warren Ellis. But then he does stuff like this. I mean, you know, did Authority, did great work on Authority. He actually, most people don't realize this, but Authority spun out of Stormwatch. Stormwatch was a comic before Authority. Yes. Stormwatch, pretty much everybody in Stormwatch died during a crossover with Aliens. The movie Aliens, they had the comic crossover. Everybody got killed by xenomorphs.
Yeah.
You know, most crossovers, nothing happens. But in this universe, the aliens came up, killed everybody, left pretty much the Authority alone, and that's why the slate was clean. They had the ship and everything, and there you go.
Yeah.
But,
and there was the Authority, and the other one was Planetary. Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
That was great too.
Which took
Planetary was pretty good. The first couple issues I read.
Sorry. Braylon.
Got some echo.
Yeah.
Braylon, what did you say?
Oh, I do?
What did you say?
Yeah. I was just saying I read it first. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Hold on, let me see if I can fix this.
Renato Jones, Freelancer, was the most SJW comic I ever bought. Pure trash. Says Indie Dave. Anybody wrote that?
Now I want to kind of go back to my collection and just be like, okay, what was the most fucking SJW trash I've read over the past 30 years?
What did Indie Dave say?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I was basically saying, I read the first couple issues of Planetary. It seemed cool, but it just didn't like really grab me. So I went on to some other stuff. But like on the thing about SJW, there are like a lot of books that do have some, let's just say, have a little bit of some minor SJW moments in there. But to me, it doesn't bother me as much as long as the story's well written. Sometimes Exactly. And it doesn't, like, people say, well, feminism was in the Miss Marvel comics from like the 70s with Carol Danvers. I was like, yeah, but you know what? She was a well-written character. She was drawn like a woman. It was actually a fun comic.
Hey, she's got,
and there was no.
She wasn't bad. She was just drawn that way.
Exactly.
Exactly. And now they say, "Oh, well, you don't like it because it's like they try to run behind the and we've gone over this. They run behind the SJW argument because their stuff's trash. Like I really like the Justice Society of America comic, right? With Jeff Johns' run. And people want to say, "Oh, yeah,
Johns never phones it in."
Yeah,
underrated.
He doesn't.
Never phones it in.
And here's the thing: people want to say, "Oh yeah, we have a black-led superhero team, right? A black male lead." I'm like, Mr. Terrific was the leader of the Justice Society of America, and they're like, "Oh, we have a strong woman." I was like, Power Girl was one of the chairmen of the Justice Society of America. They split it up. Both characters were so dope and so good at their jobs. They split it into 2 books. You had Justice League, Justice Society of America, All Stars, and Justice Society of America. 2 books. Yeah. All right. One led by Power Girl, one by Mr. Terrific. So don't give me this crap like, oh, you don't like it because it doesn't have because it has a black male lead. Oh, it's because it's a woman. Don't give me that crap.
Yeah,
you don't run behind that when you're
that's bullshit. The thing that Indie Dave was saying is about a comic called Renato Jones Freelancer.
That's that right there. I flipped through that. That looks horrible.
By what he's saying, it had rich white kids killing people while calling them SJWs. I'm so glad I never saw or bought that book.
Yeah,
I'd buy that if I found it in a bargain bin just to witness the cringe.
No, I don't want it. Thank you. Too harsh to wipe my ass with.
Because my whole thing is this: like I freely admit I like watching train wrecks.
Craziness.
You like watching train wrecks?
Yeah, because now I'm not saying like I go out. Because I look at it this way: if I'm going to buy an issue fresh off the stands, I'm supporting everything. I'm supporting the local comic book store, I'm supporting the artist, supporting the brand, so on and so forth. But if you're getting something in a bargain bin, that means it's basically been written off as a loss, and the comic shop is just trying to
make something out of it. Yes, I know.
So it's just like, you know what? I get a lot of stuff from bargain bins because that's where a lot of good stuff from years ago ends. But here's a funny one for you. I wish I took a picture of this. Fucking Civil War II. I'm at a comic shop for the first time a couple weeks ago. Me and a friend of mine are down there. We had at least like a good 6-inch fucking stack. Civil War II #1.
6 inches.
6 inches. It was fucking subletting space. It's just like nobody wanted this. Nobody fucking wanted that.
I didn't ask for this. Adam Jensen, Day 6. I never asked for this. But yeah,
but you know what? Why nobody wanted it? Because they're
bad comics. Yeah, that's the problem. That's bad comics.
No. Because they're racist.
Oh shit! I did not fucking know that.
Oh no! No, the R word. Oh no! But the worst thing about it, these stores get, and that's what kills stores.
Yeah.
People don't realize this.
They are killing the stores and they are driving the customers away.
Exactly, and the guilt is not going to bring them people back.
They're not only killing the stores; they're doing it at another level. They're doing it almost in the same way, like a sociopath, like a homicidal killer would do, like a psychopathic killer would do something. Where it's just like, no, this is fine. What I'm doing is absolutely fine because there's no one in an authority position to tell the guilty party you're doing something wrong.
Yes.
Well, okay. Any of you ever seen the movie Seven?
Yes.
Okay. You know the scene where they come upon Gluttony, one of the first victims?
Oh fuck yes.
Okay, where John Doe has overfed him SpaghettiOs and they kick him in the stomach.
Face down.
That's the comic book store, and that's the comic industry right there. They overfed them shitty comics and then guilted them into, like, if you don't buy this, you're racist, and people just walk away, but their stomach keeps getting bloated, and then, boom, the store gets closed because of that kind of bullshit. And that's the problem with the industry as a whole. And it's not just Marvel. DC is somewhat guilty, too. Not to the extent, but they...
No.
they could put out, like, instead of having the top tier writers and artists on top tier books, they need them on lower tier books to boost the sales. That's what they should be doing. Like Ivan Reyes and like I said, Robert Venditti or whatever, saying doing a Green Lantern book.
Yeah.
Then you put Van Sciver and Jeff Johns on Signal, the Batman Signal book or something.
Yeah.
A book that probably ain't gonna sell that great, but you go ahead and boost the numbers and you rotate.
Look what Kevin
wasn't
Smith
that bad.
Green Arrow.
It wasn't that bad, I read that. It wasn't that bad. And another book they are trying to trash, I don't know why, is the Superman. The last week one. I don't remember the
Chinese Superman one.
No. I don't like that one. No. Superman. Is Superman.
He's painted with lead paint.
Superman 40. Yeah, no. Superman 40. It's from the last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
What was it about?
They are complaining about it's against religion.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because they are talking about. Let me go for it. Wait a minute. I'm going for it, and I'm going to read it for you.
Religion. Kingdom come, for the love of God, the right hand of God. Spectre shows up with a priest, and they go on an adventure through a future horrific version of the DC universe where Scott Free and Big Barda run a prison in the middle of Kansas that looks like the Legion of Doom HQ, and Superman with beard and ponytail is carrying a beam similar to
Turned into a fucking hipster.
Yeah,
Wait, into a hipster.
I got it.
I'm gonna say
Let me
Jesus
see if I can find the page. Let me see if I can find the page really quick.
Okay, but that's
really quick.
the whole idea of the Jesus allegory, the Christ metaphor with Superman. Of course, it's got the Moses, and but it's really Moses and Samson, but or Samson, not Samson. That's
Samson.
Yeah, Samson. Yeah, the son of Sam.
M-I-M.
Sam. Look at this thing, like the green eggs and ham. The green eggs actually kryptonite, and then the dog that's telling the son of Sam to kill people is actually Crypto.
Okay. Here's the thing.
You know what is just okay? So I wanted just to say this real quick.
Okay.
If Marvel says, "Oh, you're not the target demographic for these books," right? Spider-Man, which is weird because from what I've read from Spectacular Spider-Man, Chip Zdarsky got his act together and he's actually trying to write decent stories, right? Right?
Cosign.
I've heard that.
Yes.
So you have that, right? For whatever reason, it's not selling well. I think part of that is because people were burned so bad for the first couple issues. They're like, I'm done. And it also might be part of it is because they're under shipping those comics and they want to ship a whole bunch of Amazing Spider-Man comics. That's just my tinfoil hat theory. But also, what's just really weird is that if that wasn't the case, if there wasn't a group of people that wanted to buy those books, DC sees that Marvel's like, y'all, like, we know we don't have our stuff completely together, but y'all guys are just a mess. So they go like, hey, you know what would be cool? Let's have a Fantastic Four team with Mr. Terrific, Plastic Man. You know what would be cool? Let's have like a Spider-Man comic called Sideways. Let's get Kenneth Rockefort over here.
Let's have a Hulk comic called Damage.
Yeah.
let's have an X-Men comic with like Immortal Men and all this other crazy stuff.
Yeah. We'll have an X. We'll get Jim Lee back and doing the writing and the artwork. We'll just bring back Wildcats.
Yes. Let me read you this from Superman, okay? He goes to, they are celebrating the day of the Krypton's destruction.
Celebrating? It's like we get a cake and explode.
Commemorating.
Yes.
Here in Mexico, we do celebrate.
Stripper bursts out of the cake.
Dia de los Muertos.
Day of the Dead. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So they are commemorating it, and they get a distress signal from another world. And they go there, him and John, Superman and John, go there, and they want to save the people. And the people there, because of their religion, they don't want to be saved. and then they are going to kill Superman. As a matter of fact, then a scientist from that world comes and saves Superman and John. Okay, and they are talking about it, and the alien says, "Perhaps it's the same on your world. How those who claim to be saintly are often the most savage." Okay.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is usually true.
Yeah. Well, they say, "Oh, it's against religion." No, it's against
People. It's
fundamentalists. It's against fanatics. It's against SJW. It's against ISIS.
Well, that's the he who is without sin cast the first stone.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
it's like okay, you know, like what are you doing here? Yeah, that's I think it was in they did that in the Last Temptation of Christ, and like everyone's getting ready to stone this prostitute. It's just like whoa, what have you done? Why don't we stone you? What have you done? Why don't we stone you? Who here is truly without sin?
I am.
Exactly.
You know, and like like that's the thing is like
Exactly. And the people that get in their high horse and start preaching to you usually are bad people.
What's the thing? Like, you look at these people that you look at how many, like, especially during the '90s, you don't get it that much anymore because they're not as prevalent. It doesn't seem like they're
Yeah, I know where you're going.
No, maybe you do, but I was going with the super church preachers. You know, like
yes, exactly.
You know, and then they find them with like a 19-year-old twink with cocaine and some shady motel.
I can't remember his name. He was one of those televangelists. If you get the chance, watch the Metal Mythos from Razor Fist.
Oh yeah, Razor Fist rules.
Yeah, he did one on Stryker, and Stryker they were a heavy metal band, but they were Christians. And there was a televangelist who was prevalent back during the 80s and 90s who like detested heavy metal music, blamed heavy metal music for the rise in degeneracy in the United States, and he went after Stryker. And they wanted nothing to do with it. And they kept true to form like the whole time, this, that, the other thing. This fucking preacher gets caught with like a fucking like in a kiddie porn ring or something. I don't know the entire I don't recall the entire story, but basically he got caught doing some bad shit that he was supposed to be against. And meanwhile, you have this heavy metal band who's, you know, spreading the word of the Lord. And I'm not even a religious person, but it's just like, there's probably some truth to that.
Exactly. So you don't need to be. You don't need that to be against religion. You see it like that because you want to see it like that because
it's the lens.
Yes, exactly. It's the lens you're wearing, or because it gives you the views in YouTube. It could be either or.
Well, that's
I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and say they got the lenses. Okay?
Yeah.
But it's one or the other. So not everything is SJW. Okay? And even some of the stuff that many people say it's SJW, and it really is there in the books. For instance, the transgender doctor in Batman. Yeah.
But you know what's weird? That thing is not like ham-fisted. It's not ham-fisted in the book. It's like it's one of those they touch on, and then like they don't like, oh yeah, me as being this type of person. They're like, oh yeah, this is what happened. This is what I'm doing. Okay, and you know what? And they move on. If that was Marvel, like every time the character would take up more space in the comic every 2 pages.
Oh, I love science. Who loves to science? It's like
yeah.
It's like
and
fucking die. He's got a bullet in his fucking head. Let's save him. I don't care about you. Love the science. Fucking do it.
And here's like if they so we had talked about this one. I think
who was talking about Stryker.
Yeah,
Stryker. Jimmy Swaggart is the guy that did it. It was Jimmy Swaggart.
They are still around.
Oh yeah, they just released an album. It's pretty good.
Oh, okay.
You know what? I was thinking about this. You know the fact of how they're trying to do like all these diverse characters, right? So they say they want diversity, but they don't use the characters that they already had. You know, it's weird about that.
You nailed it.
They don't use.
You want to.
Sorry, I'm going to say there's a character named Josiah X, who's actually a Muslim. He's a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. He's Muslim. He is a son of Isaiah Bradley, the Black Captain America from Captain America, Red, White, and Black. Isaiah Bradley, of course, the grandfather of Patriot from the Young Avengers.
For the only true patriot, the other one is shit.
Well, yeah, that's the only patriot I'll recognize.
Yeah.
But Josiah X, he is in the comics, but they haven't used him in years. I'm talking probably about a decade now.
Dusk.
Well, Dusk is another. Well, that was like that was another character. That was X-Men.
Like New Mutants, wasn't it? Wasn't she in like the New Mutants?
No,
New
she was
X-Men or something.
New X-Men. Then I think they transferred her over to New Mutants, but then nothing. You know.
Well, she was in Avengers school or something too, I think.
That's it. These people don't read comics, so they don't know that. So what they'll do, they'll take other characters,
and the ones that know lie.
Yeah, because they don't want to get stoned. See, here's the thing: people call the whole comics community. They say we're crazy psychopaths, but then other pros are starting to realize these guys aren't as crazy as we make them out to be. Like, there's this one writer who's working with DC, Rich Johnston, wrote an article and got his facts wrong. He made a mistake in quotes, Yeah,
I know.
You find out he called him out, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got this wrong. I'll fix it." He's like, "Yeah, please do that because you're screwing with people's careers now."
Oh, it was Zurcher. Yeah, Patrick Zurcher.
Yeah, Zurcher. Exactly. Yeah. So, and stuff with Ethan Van Sciver, John Mallon, a couple other writers.
And Patch is a Democrat.
Yeah, he said that's the thing. He actually had Eduardo blocked, and then he said, "I unblocked everybody," and because he actually opened his eyes a little bit of rationality, and that's one of the craziest things.
Well, he had me blocked, and I went to his timeline in another browser, and he's not insane.
But that's the thing. I think
he's talking sense.
But he changed his tune and unblock people.
Well, the other thing is, all it takes is, and this is the same thing that happened with Gamergate 4 years, 3.5, 4 years ago.
Yes, exactly the same.
All you need is just some fucking blogger. They're not even real journalists; they're bloggers, and all you need is for one of them to throw a little bit of shade on you. And more often than not, people don't know how to react. So it's like. You're you're the bad guy, you're the witch, and you're gonna do everything in your fucking power to prove otherwise. And it's like
you can't prove a negative.
Yeah, so it's just like Andrew Breitbart, love him or hate him, his philosophy was walk slowly towards the fire. They're gonna call you every name in the fucking book.
Exactly.
Just embrace it. It's in
they are going to hate you no matter how you speak. No matter how what do you say? I could be using my real face in Twitter and my real name, and they would still find ways to dismiss me, to say I am a Nazi, I am a sock puppet, I am this, I am that. Okay?
You're a Russian. You're not actually Mexican, you're a Russian.
Yes, I am a Russian bot.
Yes. See, right there, you're going to be misquoted on that.
Fuck them.
Well, the biggest thing about
fuck them in the ass with a ferret bazooka.
Well, the one thing I've been seeing lately, you're seeing people saying, "Well, we're being attacked. We got to do something about it." I'm like, you're just digging your own grave. The more you fight them,
attack.
Well, no. I'm not saying I'm not being attacked because I'm smart enough not to.
No, I know. But by words, by people debunking your life.
It's the Roadhouse thing, be nice till it's time not to be nice. If somebody calls my mother a cocksucker or something, says, "Well, is she?" That kind of thing. It's like, it's just words.
I'm telling you, man, we need to make that GIF a real thing. Not Today Peasants with Loki, man, whacking people in the faces. That needs to be our official GIF, man. Not Today Peasants. I'm telling you, that needs to be the thing, bro. Because
it works real well.
That's fucking normies.
I've seen so many people that are really chill. Like Mr. Marvel, he got frustrated. Like this dude who was trolling him, he was real chill about it, and he blocked him. And then he made another post like, I didn't let him get to me, like that loser, like he wanted to rip him to shreds because the dude was being just you could tell he was probably one of those trolls that sits in his house and like has a horrible life and started doing that because he even started trolling me. Like I said, oh, I don't like X-Men Gold and what it's done because it's been kind of whack, right? That's what I said. And then I said, I like John Mallon's Cable and this and this. And he's like, oh, so you don't like X-Men because they're SJWs or whatever, but you read Cable because John Mallon had the thing about SJWs. And I was like,
because he wrote a good story.
Well, that's
here's
bait.
the thing. Here's
that's
the thing.
what that was. Bait.
If you really are an SJW,
I didn't know Kathy Newman was trolling you.
What?
I didn't know Kathy Newman was trolling this guy. So what you're saying is, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Just like, it came right into my head. It's just like, gotta get it out there.
You okay, Geeky? You sound like you're dying over there.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Oh, his old age is getting to him.
And the smoking. Yeah, like a train. What was I going to say? Okay, yes, I remember. Yes, I lost my train of thought. Here's the thing: if you are really, really an SJW, and by that you are
Antifa,
as holier than thou, hypocrite, preaching to everyone, trying to decide what people can and cannot say, think, like, who can they fuck or not, all that stuff. Okay, if you're that, fuck you.
Yeah, it's
you are going to say I am a white supremacist anyway.
Yeah,
so fuck you.
It's the same. It's the same thing as the religious right was doing a generation ago.
Yeah,
they were the moral authoritarians essentially running society, and now the pendulum shifted from the left.
And I'm ashamed to say I helped the people that are now in power.
Yeah.
Okay. When I saw, because it was about 10 years ago, I believe, that I started, maybe more, I started noticing the trend. I started reading where they were going. And I started talking and telling people, okay, hey, this is not good. This is not correct. We are going in this direction. Oh, slippery slope fallacy. Oh, this, oh, that. You must be a Christian. I'm an atheist, in case you didn't know. And these discussions were in forums full of atheists, okay? Yeah. Or of non-believers. And you hate women, and you this, and you what? And I started arguing with them. But for their dismay, I was always very polite. So they couldn't ban me, because I never gave them the tools to do that. Okay, yeah, they had a university professor on their side, and the dude never could argue with me and win because he didn't have the facts. And when he gave some facts, he was extrapolating too much. And I'm not even a college graduate.
And here's the craziest part is that
he's walking off to smell his own farts.
When you walk into this type of situation and people start telling you about this, like the moment people start saying agendas when we're talking about superheroes and comic books, that shouldn't even pop up into your mind.
The agenda with just to amplify your point, the agenda with comics should just be tell me a good fucking story.
Make it entertaining and make money. Be entertaining and make money, and that's the thing. You don't make money, you can't make it.
Have fun.
Exactly, it's like
and have fun.
And that's one of the thing about this community that we're a community of, and it's one of the things you're not to notice it, to tout it is like kind of like tooting your own horn a little too much, smelling your own farts, as it were. But we are a community of varying people. I mean, not just body types, locations, walks of life, everything.
Mentalities,
and mentalities too. It's like there's people.
Religiosity.
Well, exactly, or lack thereof.
We even have a socialist among us. Did you know?
Oh,
Greg. Selkirk.
Oh,
Greg
he's socialist?
Selkirk. He's a socialist, really.
I had
yes.
no clue.
And he's on our side.
Well, hopefully he ain't full socialist.
I don't know how socialist he is.
It's like
But
I have no
he
problem
is
people
the kind of people that said that that's not socialism.
Okay, well,
Okay, but
my-
he's on our side in the cultural stuff.
And here's the craziest part is that when I'm checking out these different stories, right? And when these people start attacking customers and they're entitled and all that type of stuff, a lot of these guys honestly believe have some serious like emotional, mental just issues. Like I mean as an effect of like they're just damaged, unhappy people. All right.
broken people.
You know, like
Look, I mean, honestly,
broken people. Like Max Bemis. Like he says, "Oh, I'm bipolar and I'm crazy." I was like, "That's offensive to people that are bipolar." I have friends that struggle with that. They would be like, "What the heck is wrong with you, dude? Why would you use that as a crutch or as an excuse?"
Here's the
to be
thing.
like
Okay,
that?
they all
self-diagnose.
Yes,
Exactly.
They say, "Oh, I have autism." No, you don't, bitch. I have autism. Okay? I know. I went to the doctor, and I know I have it, and you don't have it. You're full of shit. Now,
Right.
There
Same
used
for
to
me.
be a time in polite society where you kind of kept stuff like that to yourself, unless it was something you couldn't hide. Like if you had like a busted leg, or you had like MD or polio or something, you're going to be bound to a wheelchair. You're going to have crutches, so on and so forth. Stuff like that you really can't hide, or it's very hard too. But any type of mental disorder,
or when it's really relevant, you know.
Yeah.
For instance, if you and I are in a text chat, I might not read sometimes sarcasm.
well, it's kind of hard to read sarcasm in text without
But
certain
the
things.
people in the spectrum is even harder.
Yeah.
I have Asperger's.
Oh, I do too.
High functioning autist. Okay, so I mix.
Do you weaponize it? Is the question.
Yes.
I should.
Oh yes, I do. Oh yes, I do. Don't you cross me. Don't you cross me. Okay. Here's the thing.
I found out just in this evening alone, and in past as well. If Eduardo's talking and like if you're making a point and Eduardo wants to cut in, he'll cut in no matter if it's a stream or not. He'll cut in.
Yeah.
Boundaries be damned.
I try not to, but sometimes I can't help it.
Well,
Well, like,
sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. No, go ahead. After you.
Like, what gets me is this community of people that they want to easily label us, and like they hate labels. That's the thing. You find that these people that supposedly hate labels, they self-label themselves.
Label, yes.
I'm this, I'm that. How about this? Hi, I'm Larry. I'm making art. Here's my YouTube channel. Here's my DeviantArt. Unfortunately, I have a Tumblr. I barely update it, but mainly because there's a couple of blogs I follow.
Labels.
But they say they hate labels. They hate labels when you put it on them. Like, oh, so you're a psychopath. You want to bash my brain in because I'm a white man. Okay, I get it. Because your dad didn't love you enough, and you hate your own skin. It's like, ugh.
The dark triad.
And then the other crazy part is that the creators, artists / writers that are the most talented and people love their stuff and love them, you never hear them spouting this crap. It's the people that are the least successful talk the most trash.
Yes.
I wonder why.
Most of the good ones,
they're miserable. That's why.
Decent.
Well,
It's like Daryl Ayo. Daryl Ayo is one of those. He's one of those people. That's why I say don't feed the trolls. When Weaponized Nerd said that, I said, okay, he's 100% right. Don't feed the trolls. Ignore him. Because people didn't ignore him, and people started attacking him, he's popular now.
Yeah.
If everyone was a tweet, he would have just faded off the face of the earth. No one would.
You're cutting off and getting echo.
Well, that's the thing. Like, when the Small Press Expo comes up this fall, I think it's like September, in Bethesda, Maryland. When that happens, Daryl Ayo is going to be one of those prized, prized people there because he's going
to have like an aura about him, like the way Anita Sarkeesian had at VidCon.
Yes,
exactly. When you had Anita going to the United Nations, Daryl Ayo, who was harassed by Nazi trolls or some stuff like that.
Yeah.
They can't.
Who has no talent.
He survived
Exactly. He has none.
Gate.
But that's the thing. He survived Comics Gate, and so he'll be.
And here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. DNC. The other day he made a video, and no, it wasn't a video. He was quoting someone, talking. You only want attention, and I told him yes, and you love to give her attention.
Exactly. But here's the thing. I know people like Richard DNC. I hate calling him because it's not his damn name. It ain't like he tried to truly hide it. It's like it pisses me off, the whole alias bullshit. But whatever. But this idea of I know what he knows what he's doing for the most part. You know, you can't be that dumb. You don't really want things to get better because if they do, drama makes money. Drama brings attention. Drama brings subscribers.
In this climate, yes.
And that right there,
unfortunately,
he does do good content.
Who?
But, Richard, he does good content at times. But a lot of that stuff is that drama-driven bullshit, but you're not going full in. I watch a channel called Warski Live, and also watch Tonka Saw. Okay, yeah, Blood Sports, yeah. Tonka Saw and Warski Live, and Jim, a.k.a. Mediker, Mr. Mediker. These guys, when they do this stuff, you have these people. You have Mike Enoch, who he's a white nationalist. Then you have anti-white nationalist people. I don't care for either side because a lot of it's just bullshit and talk. But to see two people rip in each other, I'd love to see this person versus this person go at it in a comic book format because either way, it's going to be entertaining. Usually, it should be entertaining. But just talking about it, it's like you see people, and
but the other side will never get in a debate with any of us.
Well, that's the thing. Because we're very opinionated people, and your Nerd Wonder and
you can take the mildest of us, okay? Take that person, the mildest, the most meek.
I don't know who that would be though.
One of the girls was more likely.
Okay, well, like that's what I'm saying. Like your Nerd Wonder, HP, they kind of want to mellow things out. Talk about this DM. Talk about it privately. No, hash this shit out because if you do it behind closed doors, do it in the dark, then one person could say to another, and like, what are you gonna do? You gonna go ahead and put out your
on a DM with?
Oh no, somebody's setting a bomb.
Oh yeah, sorry, man. I'm getting something to drink, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm about to say.
If you go on DMs with these people, you are going to get accused of a lot of stuff, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So don't do it. Don't engage with them in private.
And that's the problem in engagement in private because it's going to be your word against theirs.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Unless you want to reveal private DMs, which I've done one time because the guy started calling me out for shit. I was like, all right, motherfucker, I'll bring this shit out in the light. And then he fucking reported my fucking posts and had him, you know, you need to remove this stuff or like we'll lock your account.
Yeah.
Like, this motherfucker, and this motherfucker's working for DC Comics right now, cocksucker. But
Allegedly.
but but for the most part, when I first met a previous boss of mine, first day on the job, we nearly got into a fist fight. Fast forward a few years later, we're like best buds. Like we're like there was death in the family, and I was like, you know, I cover for you.
That's what men do.
But this thing, it wasn't a man; it was actually a woman. She's Amazon. She's taller than me.
She's a grown up.
But but the thing about it is, we almost got to she's the one that balled her fist up first, and I'm like, oh shit. It's like I was thinking like, damn, she's gonna kick my ass, and if she don't kick my ass, like what am I gonna do? Like, oh, what, you hit a woman. Larry.
I'm an egalitarian. I'm an egalitarian. If you throw a punch, I will kick your ass. I don't care.
Well, my mother told me when I was growing up.
My mama too, and I'm older than you.
Well, what my mom had told me if you can't walk away, if you have to fight, no matter if it's a man or a woman, you fight and you win.
Oh no, my mama didn't tell me that.
Well, that's
My mama told me you never hit a woman.
But well, hey, if a woman's gonna ball up a fist and start gonna throw punches first, that's no woman.
Yeah.
That's combatant. But no, what I'm saying is, it's like you have to there's people that they don't want the community to kind of like this is why I don't like doing the whole Comicsgate thing, because like once you're part of a community, isolated cells is hard to break up. But once you gather together, all it takes is that whole adage, few bad apples to spoil the bunch. You have a few people go off of the reservation and start doing some horrific stuff, like truly horrific stuff. I'm not saying they've done it yet, but then it's already bad enough that pretty much every the moderate creators or some like the Patrick Zurchers and stuff like that, they're not full, like they're opening up their minds. They're giving themselves a little bit of a leeway. But the more hardcore you go, the more people catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar. Okay, and that's my concern with all this. Doesn't mean you have to just not fight and take it like pick your battles wisely. That's
the art of war. Fight the battles you can win.
Yeah.
If you can't win, you fight another day.
Yes.
And the funniest part is that, like, okay, a whole thing about drama, right? Is honestly, there are some people that are only here for the drama. I've seen the people's like comments on like some of DNC's videos and stuff like that. They're like, "Oh, I don't really care about comics. I just like the drama." They just feed off of that stuff.
Oh yeah, that's why I subscribe.
That's fine.
That's
fine. If you like drama, you go search drama. And if you wanna make your content only drama, that's fine too. Free market. Free market.
But just to show you that, like, okay, some of the videos I'll do.
6 months ago, just about 6 months ago, I started using a hashtag Geeks Enjoy.
I remember that.
Trying to promote books, trying to promote things I like. It didn't pick up because I'm a nobody.
To be quite honest, like technically everyone in this chat right now, we're all nobodies. We're just a bunch of folks who love comics.
Speak for yourself. I'm Larry King, goddammit.
I want to remind you, speaking of Larry King, and right now we're speaking.
It's like,
I
got a podcast, son. At King Frequency, I got a podcast.
I had two until the first one I was on. His family, I went out there to see him. He got really jealous that I did better at him at a convention at a gay church, and our friendship fell apart because he had been extremely deceptive. And I said, "You know what? Fuck you, fuck your family, and your ugly dog too."
Wow, the dog too.
Why the dog?
It was one of those adopted chihuahuas from like a pound. Damn thing looked like it'd been.
Oh, fuck the chihuahua!
Fuck that.
Yep. And their cat nearly scratched me every morning. Would hiss at me and scratch at me, and I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here!" But
no way.
Well, I don't. I'm not a fan of cats, really. But
neither do I.
But
I love cats.
I love people.
But we're nobodies, and I'm not saying that the first DNC has to use his sway positively all the time. That's it's like but you have to understand what power you hold.
Yes.
And do it. You can
with great power
comes great responsibility. Exactly. Exactly. But here's the thing. I think a lot of the time, and even with Van Sciver, love the guy, but I think both of them. They're a little bit of that trollish behavior, and it can't. It gets you can see it coming out a little bit.
Yeah,
but
before I forget. So let's just say the fact of like everyone's saying how there's Let me cut this microwave off. Okay. So
please do.
So like every time people post stuff about all these trash artists, there's no good artists, right? So I started trying to just every day, even like if there's a couple posts a day, like, hey, here's some underrated artists that do some amazing stuff, man. They do commissions.
Yeah.
and I'll post them, and people will like retweet them and stuff like that. I think Nerd Wonder was like fanning girling out of one of these creators. I think Bella Ratchlin or something like that. But nobody wants to like. They'll say, "Oh, there's trash artists." I'm like, if you see something, retweet it. If you see a good book, a good comic, retweet that crap, man. Don't just like retweet it so it can get out there. I mean, it's so easy for us to retweet drama about something stupid Heather Antos did, but nobody wants like, oh, that's a cool book. Okay, retweet it and share it to people. Someone's got to kickstart some good projects they're doing. Retweet that crap and show it to other people.
Hell yeah.
I've gotten accused of working for Alternative Comics as a fucking PR guy. Like, you work for them with PR. I'm like, no, I love their shit. You know, it's like, but that's the thing. You have, if you love something, you speak. You should speak it out loud. It's easy to fall into the hate category. Like, that's the thing. Like, I told some, there's people like, you know what? I love you. You're great. Tell me that all the time. Like, God damn it, so you fucking know it. And as crazy as it sounds, it's like if you keep that shit bottled in, well, you just know, you know, I love you. You know, like, no, tell them. It's like, you know what? Like, you know, like to keep it bottled up. To keep, you know, it's weight. It goes waste. It spoils. You know. Yeah, but
almost timely. That's what baffles me about Valentine's Day. It's like if you love somebody, you love them every fucking day. You don't take days off. It's like, nah, I'm not going to love you for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to go and bang the broad up the street. I'm going to go nail the baby. I'll get tested. I'll come back. You don't fucking do shit like that. You know?
I do.
That's badass.
Well, see, like, but it's like, I understand it's a tough road to walk when you get to the point where you got thousands of followers and you got all these people looking up to you. Shit, I just barely made it over 500, and I'm expecting to go back down like 400 something or even lower eventually. I'll say or do something really fucking stupid, and I'll lose a bunch of people because I'm like, what the fuck it. I've been at this for almost 10 years now. It's like, fuck it, why not? You know, shit's gonna go south anyway. But
after this stream, I'm expecting my all the porn bots that follow me on Twitter to fucking skedaddle.
Dude, that's been happening to me. I'm new to Twitter, so I'm like, oh, I've got like more followers. I look at it, I'm like, dude. I'm like, what the heck, man? Like, there's nothing so disappointing in seeing that. Like, when somebody new follows me, I'll no lie, I'll creep through their Twitter profile. I'm like, okay, there's nothing but retweets. It's a bot. It's a bot.
Yeah, it's a bot.
Or you see weird links, like hyperlinks that you don't want to click on.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna get a bug, and it's gonna like ruin my computer.
Yeah, I was like, I'll go ahead and. You know what? I'm gonna report this as possibly phishing or something, whatever. But that's the thing. We have to support our own. We have to support what we like. Doesn't mean we have to I've seen people, they'll do the whole, hey, you need to help this person out. It's like, I don't need to do anything. If I'd like to, thanks for bringing it to my attention, but don't make me try to feel guilty. Like, oh, because this person, he wants good comics too. He's Comicsgate. Like, he wants this and that. I'm like, oh, so that doesn't like.
You have demands.
Exactly.
That's it.
It's like there's people like there's a guy, he was promoting his comic, and it's like really. I do my own do-it-yourself comics and everything. I mail them out and everything. I just whatever, different size, mainly small stuff. I'm moving bigger stuff eventually. But there's a guy putting out his own stuff, and I'm like, hey, that's great. And I looked at the price on it. I was like, fuck, man, you're charging way too much for that shit. It ain't even full color. It's just like color cover, there's some other black and white interior stuff. I'm like, that's too fucking much. But people are like, you need to support him and show that this and that. I'm like, I don't gotta show shit. You know,
I don't do anything but pay taxes and die, bro. That's my motto. And the funniest part is that I was like, okay, so there's Nathan Never, right? I wanted to get that book. I can't find that book anywhere, man. It's like it's something somebody else has. Dark Horse doesn't carry. It's through some other distributor who no longer has it in stock. I think it's out of print. I tried to go to Barnes & Noble's website. It's in French. I was like, I can't freaking read this crap, man. And then I turn around.
You got the was it Tyrone Biggums? Man, got some of that Nathan Neville? You scratch yourself.
Exactly, bro. Like, I want to read it, and like Legs Weaver was never translated. I said, and I'm just over here. I'm like, this is some trash, bro. So then I turn around and remember when I told you about magnetic? Magnetic Press, right?
Yeah.
About like this book Mecca. I was like, okay, I'll check that out, right? I'll check it out. So I'll go up there. I was like, man, this is $20-something, man. I said, you know what? I can get for 20 some bucks. I can go and pick up some trades. I can go pick up some Red Hood and the Outlaws issues I missed. Go get some Gundam manga. Go get some Ultraman manga. Get all the manga I want. You want me to spend 20 bucks on this, and I don't even know if it's good. I ain't seen no reviews. Bro,
Yeah, that's
look at that.
well, that's the other biggest problem that we kind of haven't addressed is the price of comics just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. The page count keeps going down. Ads are a way for paying for something without paying for something. So if I'm gonna let's say there's 32 pages in the comic that you can put advertising or content on.
Guys,
What is it usually like? 22 pages?
Actually, no. Now Marvel's average page count is actually 20 pages of story,
Yeah.
and then 12 pages of ads, and most of those are, I believe, most of them are in-house for the most part.
Yeah.
So they're not even making money off of it. It's just going back, feeding in the system.
Yep.
And basically it's
guys.
What's up?
I need to go out with my dog. I'm going to leave the stream. So knock yourself out.
We got you covered, man. Go take care of the little dog too.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, take care, man.
Okay, we'll be back, but we'll be here. Oh,
yeah, y'all gonna do another 7-hour stream. I'm gonna leave
No.
and I'm gonna wake up and be like, oh, we did a 7-hour stream. I'm like,
We're still at it, bro.
When I saw that, I was like, what the heck, man? I was like, I thought we were gonna do a 2-hour stream, man.
Oh
We were
God,
there 3 hours and said, man, I gotta get some sleep.
Well, that's the thing. It's like we were going. It was like 2:30 in the fucking morning, and I keep going, and like everybody else is like, oh, not necessarily dropping like flies. Y'all champs. Marina was a champ, but like, damn, we were just keep going because that's the thing. It's like that's what happens at comic book stores. That's what I would do every fucking Wednesday from 2005 to 2008. I would stay there talking comics, movies. There's actually, God help me, I used to do video reviews, like the L Train Presents. I'm up there, and oh God, it was I should probably bring him up. Fuck it, I don't care if it's cringy or not. It might actually still be up there.
I love cringe, man. Do it up.
Fuck, man. It's like the thing about it is, me and oh crap, I forgot his name. He used to work for Coca-Cola. I know that because he brought some of my Coca-Cola sample stuff. But I was wearing my that distressed Green Lantern shirt, the Green Lantern logo. Yeah. And I was at the comic store. He walks in wearing Green Lantern shirt as well, and he's a black man, and I'm white, so I was like, Hal Jordan, John Stewart. He's like, oh no, fuck, Larry, why did you have you're the one copying me. It's like, and the best thing about it, I'm doing like my little review things, and then the camera slowly pans over, and he's just like, he's standing there looking at his like comics or something, and he's like shaking his head like, what the fuck have I got myself into? But it's the funniest damn thing. It's like, but my store there was a guy in there. He was a backyard wrestler, and he'd come in the week after he had split his head open.
God,
backyard wrestling. But we had so many people in walks of life coming into that comic store, and that's the thing that bothers me about these soy drinking, coffee shops sitting. What?
The people, the guys with the open mouths.
Oh yeah, the soy boys. The soy boys, and that right there, they don't get that. The comics are for everybody. Yeah, but guess what? It's hard to actually market that shit when you're talking $4 or $5 a pop, 20 pages, most of it's ads, and you don't get nothing. Like you can pick up.
The price keeps going up, and wages are for the most part stagnant.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Wages are stagnant, and I can understand. You got these corporate comics. You're paying a lot of them. I think if you actually under contract with Marvel and or DC, like a contracted employee, I think you do get insurance, like health insurance.
Yeah.
Which I can understand. They want a little higher price point, kind of offset that. But this is a corporation. These books are not going to be going away. The characters are not going to just die. It isn't like, oh no, the character no longer exists. But that's not going to happen. But they want to make money. They want to make some money off of it.
There's a book I highly recommend, The True Story of Marvel Comics.
Oh, I want to pick that book up. I wanted to get the audio book of it. I wanted to have it where I could listen and draw at the same time.
I got the audio book of that, and I can't remember what era of Marvel it was in. I think it was at one point back there. I think it was during the Jim Shooter years or just after. Mm-hmm. And at one point, when Marvel switched hands, like some executive had an idea where it's just like, yeah, we want to turn the Marvel offices into a room with a phone with somebody just licensing the characters out.
Yeah, it was actually Ron Perlman, not the actor, but the corporate raider who actually bought it up. But this is what's so fucked up about Marvel. Everybody, when the whole Stan Lee thing come up, like, oh, he was groping nurses. Which, hey, if you've ever been to a nursing home, them old men are fucking handsy as all hell. Some of them still have their brains. You know, they're just physically crippled, but mentally there.
I used to deliver food to a nursing home, man. So I've seen it all. People, here's the sick thing. People don't want to talk about this, but they fuck like rabbits at the nursing home. Old people do. Oh yeah.
It's disturbing and disgusting. But hey, hey, they got magic pills. That's like in the Diversity Comics, and who else was doing Razor Fist? A couple of people. His dick don't work no more. I'm pretty sure you take a couple of little blue pills, your dick be working just fine. But nobody was like.
Now, you also have to figure that Stan Lee. Now I'm not trying to say he did this, that, or the other thing, but he came up in an age when speed was legal. You think that diet pills. We've all seen Requiem for a Dream. But I'm pretty sure popping a couple of Viagra for him is not gonna fucking it isn't gonna kill him. But the other thing is, the guy just lost his wife.
Yeah, so the thing about it is hey, you never heard the Peaches song "Fuck the Pain Away"? There you go.
Hey, you gotta get by somehow.
Well, that's the thing. It's Stan Lee. But here's the thing. He fucked over. When I heard that, I didn't matter if it was true or not, because fuck Stan Lee. He fucked Ditko, Kirby. He had his fucking name because he was Martin Goodman's nephew. So he de facto nepotism. This motherfucker would take credit for writing a comic. He would just come up with a plot. Kirby, Ditko, everybody would go out and actually write it. Would do the actual fucking hard work. Stan Lee did not come up with Galactus. He did not come up with Silver Surfer. Yeah. He said he came up with an entity comes down. Kirby came up with the actual hard work, and then Stan Lee just slapped I don't know if you Silver Surfer's origins was not. He was a Norrin Rad from Zenlon, all that bullshit. Yeah. He was actually created out of clay, out of cosmic clay, as a whole cloth. So when he wandered around the earth, it wasn't he was trapped there. He just wanted to know what it was like to be alive, because he was created just to go to planets as a harbinger, as a herald of Galactus. But then this Norrin Rad, fucking Stan Lee trying to be hip as a motherfucker, and the guy was wearing a rug on his head because he was bald as fuck.
Oh yeah,
from the 60s onward, and these people I started going bald. I said, fuck it, I'm shaving my head. I don't care if I look like a skinhead. I'm not going to buy into the hair piece or the transplant bullshit. No. Guess what? You have to grow the fuck up. But Stan Lee's so egotistical. And these motherfuckers, when Jim Shooter took over, was giving out, Marvel at the time was giving out these original fucking pages that would, when you'd send that stuff in, they would keep it, and they wouldn't necessarily have to return it to you. But that was priceless. Imagine somebody out there, some motherfucker has pages from Fantastic Four #1 or X-Men #1, the cover. Oh, yeah. That cover out there, it floats around. It might be in a private collection. I might be actually open. It might have got returned to the Kirby Museum.
Yeah.
But they would sell that shit, basically black market, and make, because there was comic fans. They was like, oh, fuck, I want that page. How much you want to pay for it? $500 bucks, and $500 back then would have been that's nothing to sneeze at.
50 grand.
Yeah, exactly. But you look at Stan Lee, who had the pull. If he wanted to get things he had the pull before he became a figurehead to get things turned around. Jim Shooter was actually in the process of returning creators' work to him. You see the artwork, and because that's what Van Sciver does. He gets when the book's out on the stands, he sells the original art. And you can buy it up if you've got the money and you bid early enough and often enough and all that. But in comics now, Stan Lee has this reverence. Oh, God, he's in all the Marvel movies. Fuck him. It should be Kirby. Kirby created this shit. He designed this shit. But no, of course, the good die young. And people...
Kirby wasn't without his faults, but in my opinion, Kirby was a goddamn... He was a fucking mutant. But, as Hunter Thompson would say, a high-powered mutant never considered for mass production, one of God's prototypes.
Go ahead. No, I was saying what pissed me off was when the Van Sciver and when Richard did the diversity of comics bullshit. That first one when he's like, "Oh, Kirby and his nasty table and this and that." I was like, "Motherfucker, he was smoking cigarettes at that thing for 20, 30 fucking years. He ain't gonna be nasty."
Yeah.
Exactly.
I used to work in like really old buildings. Like
with the stained walls and the ceiling.
Yeah, and it's like even like my grandmother, my grandparents, my grandmother smoked like a fucking chimney, and she smoked like non-filtered fucking Pall Malls. So like she was hardcore. Like whenever one of the kids in school would just be like, "Oh man, I broke the filter off my cigarette," I'm like, "Just rip the fucking filter off. It's nasty." My grandmother does it. The fuck out of here. So, but it's like that old equipment. You want to know what it has that like brand new shiny fucking equipment doesn't? It has a fucking soul.
Yeah, well, think about this because you got to think Kirby. Not only was his cigars, it was also his sweat because he'd be sitting there like without his shirt and like in waist high pants.
California,
in California. But when the same table he had when he was in I think it was on Long Island.
Yeah,
but even when he was on Long Island and in California, Thousand Oaks, people would stop by. Like Mark Hamill, I think, stopped by one time and everything like this. Yeah. They would stop. People would like, "Oh, Kirby lives here," and Roz, Jack's wife, would like, "Oh, come on in. I'll make you a sandwich." Jack's in there drawing, and you was there. "Could you do that with Stan Lee?" No, because he's like, "Oh, I'm Mr. Stan Lee. I want all my movies and TV show bullshit." Like, yeah, fuck him. No, well, but that's the thing. Like Kirby was a man of the fucking earth. He didn't drive. When he was in passenger seat, he would draw. The guy, he was buried in his work because he wanted to provide for his family because he grew up in the fucking slums of Lower East Side.
Oh yeah,
and this people don't realize the fact that doing that, like like, "Oh, he's Jewish." Like, that doesn't mean shit. Like 1921 or whatever, when he's like, like a couple years old and everything, he was busting his ass, and nobody really realizes that kind of that era. That they didn't even have penicillin at that time. Not mistaken. I think penicillin wasn't created like 1938 or some shit like that.
Yeah.
But people died at a young age even then. Like, not necessarily it wasn't like dropping dead at 20, but life was much harder. Yeah, and and Kirby is one of these guys. Like, if I could go back and meet anybody in the comic book industry, like past, present, whatever, it'd be Kirby. I'd love to just like go out there and just chat with him for a bit. Like imagine showing him that was a 1970s Red Brown Captain America, where fucking Stan Lee gets the credit for creating Captain America. I think it was the Red Brown one. Because they don't even credit Joe Simon and Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
You know who I would just since we're saying like artists, you know what? If y'all have heard of Frank Frazetta, I know y'all have seen his stuff.
Oh fuck yeah,
Frank Frazetta. I would love to meet that.
Maybe.
He looks like he's just like a cool the dude took
Eastwood.
A picture with Clint Eastwood. He took a picture with Clint Eastwood. He did a portrait or something. And he took a picture with Clint Eastwood back in the 70s. Yeah. That dude is like the. Like, I know if, like, you just got to hang out with the guy, it'd be, like, the coolest thing. He'd probably be talking to you, like, about, like, sports or cars or just life stuff and just painting, like, the most awesome Conan cover for a comic you've ever seen.
There's a word for artists who reach that pinnacle, if it were, and it's they're illustrators. And I'm not saying that to be pompous or anything, but it's just like they're illustrators. They'll take something and they'll put life to it, instead of like a soulless drawing, which is half the fucking art in mainstream comics nowadays. Like, if you look at Frank Cho's a fucking illustrator. Everything he does has a soul to it.
It's amazing.
Kirby was an illustrator. Has a fucking soul to it. Like even to some degree, I'll say Greg Land, because yeah, he did tracing, but you know what? If you look at his work, there's a soul to it. You can actually
older stuff. Older stuff, especially
you can enjoy that shit. You
look at these people now. Like, you go through the comics, and to go back, like even the generic Land comics from the 80s. Like, we're talking the Star brand, that kind of stuff. Like the late 80s, when like even that stuff had more heart and soul than the comics are on the stands now for the most part. DC's better at it. At least they have some solid artists working for them. I don't know if you've noticed that they started putting the artist names first on the comics over at DC.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It's kind of weird. I know it's like because they work the hardest, and I get that. And it is kind of just funky because I'm so used to seeing the writer. But if You know, a lot of these, it kind of admits to the fact that a lot of these stories are editorial driven. You don't actually have a writer, you know, submitting this, you know, concept to the editor. Editor's like, yeah, I like this. Maybe change this a little bit to make it more in line with the character. But it's like, that's what they should have done with the Iceman book. Have like a bunch of people submit pitches for a run. It's like, my thing would have been, oh, Iceman, oh, okay, I have to make, he has to be gay. Okay, fine. So we're not going to really touch upon that. He goes around basically as an icy knight. And it's kind of like it's an adventure story, but with Iceman. Kind of a, you know, it kind of travels around the world, and there's a conspiracy he's got to stop, and the X-Men pop up occasionally, and he's like kind of got to prove it to himself that he can do this by himself. That, you know, usually it's him with Spider-Man and Firestar, or it's him with the other X-Men, and this and that, like, and maybe even have a confrontation with Polaris, and like maybe he realizes, maybe I'm not gay, I'm just bisexual or something. You know, like, hey, I like a little bit of both. And it's like one of those things. Leave the option open.
See, with and this is why I kind of like what they're doing with the superhero movies now, because like there are smart people in Hollywood. You wouldn't be making that much money if you had an IQ lower than your shoe size. But when you take the idea of superheroes, okay, superhero movies, but people are getting sick of superhero movies. Ant-Man. Ant-Man was a fucking sleeper hit. No one had faith in it. You watch it. It was great. It was a heist film.
It was barely a heist. My thing is, it was less heist. It was what it was more like. And when I watched it, because I had a Amazon credit, where, you know, I didn't have to pay for anything. So I had Amazon because I bought a couple books, and it's like, you have a credit in the movie thing. And so I watched it, and I'm like, this isn't Ant-Man. This ain't really a Marvel movie. It's a sequel to Inner Space. You know, the Joe Dante film, Inner Space. And it's just like that, because there's so much little things going on. Like, this is Inner Space 2, quote, outer space, you know? And it's just, it was dumb and fun, but it felt like an 80s film. And I'm like, yeah, you can do this practically.
Look at New Mutants coming out. When's that coming out? Like May, June, something like that?
It was supposed to come out. It's coming out next year because they want to put more horrific elements in it, because apparently it wasn't scary enough.
But that's the whole thing. You have a superhero movie, but it's a horror flick. Yeah. You can take superheroes as the foundation, and you can tell conspiracy stories. You can tell sci-fi stories.
Well, like Western, like Logan. Like Logan was a Western film, and that's
yes.
You know, it was a Western without being a Western. I mean, if you've read Old Man Logan, which I'm pretty sure everybody has, or at least everybody here, that is the movie Unforgiven. Mark Miller freely admitted ripping off Unforgiven. If you've ever seen Unforgiven, that movie was the fucking swan song of the genre. It's just like spoiler alert for a fucking 30-year-old movie where it's just like Clint Eastwood going into town, hasn't picked up a fucking gun in years, goes into town, fucking kills everybody. It's just like, well, he should have thought twice before fucking stringing up my best friend, you know, or some shit like that. You know?
It's funny because the director of Logan, which is James Mangold, did 3:10 to Yuma, which is, and actually, I don't know if you knew that it's actually 3:10 to Yuma and Unforgiven's what inspired, because the whole thing about 3:10 to Yuma, he's actually, you know, he's trying to save the farm, so he goes to go do that. You know, the Christian Bale character, he goes to go arrest. Batman goes to go arrest Jor-El and save him from Angel. If I'm not mistaken, Ben Foster is actually the bad guy in that film. Yeah. So Angel from X-Men 3, but that's the thing. Like, these movies, the Marvel stuff, they don't go far enough. But you don't have the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and apparently Black Panther is getting a lot of, you know, praise and this and that. But
they are
a problem.
Shallow.
Well, look what they did.
They are shallow. Their movies are shallow.
With the Winter Soldier.
Too many edits in that film. I watched it again. I was down at the beach last summer, and it was like a storm rolled in, so I was like, turned the TV on, and they had Winter Soldier on. Yeah, there are so many fucking edits in that film, and it's not the quality edits. It's like that. See action, and it's trash, and that whole plot. That, you know, it's just like, you know, it's conspiracy. I'm like, but they could do a much better job.
Oh, no, they that's the thing. They're right there, kind of like on this like tipping point where it's like. Go ahead.
Have a fascinating story. They're at a tipping point, that cusp of a fascinating story, but they got to keep it dumb enough for general audiences in China, and that's the other thing. It's American general audiences, which are mostly on their fucking phones in the theater. And dear sweet Jesus, I wish somebody go around and start smacking fucking phones out of hands. But I was texting someone important. I don't give a fuck. Get the fuck out.
Oh no, that was
that's one of the reasons I stopped going to so much to movies, because people have no courtesy, no respect.
Yeah, there's no.
I only go to the movies when it's like a huge event, like a really big movie that I care about. Otherwise, I don't waste my time. Did I see what?
Did you see Black Panther yet, Braylon?
Man, I'm gonna wait like 2 weeks. I'm so okay, that video that I did on Black Panther is still getting views. I gotta hate, but it's still getting views, bro.
It's like
I'm not sure.
Right now, it's hot to hate on Black Panther because it's the Howard Stern effect. More people listen.
But the thing is, I wasn't hating on it. I was saying about all the drama around the movie. Like people were like, "Oh, like all this," and I thought it was just me. But there were other there was a guy. Oh, what's up?
Even addressing the drama around the movie, it's still like inside that it's the outer ring. There's drama about the movie, and when you address the drama about the movie, there's going to be people who want to address the drama that's the drama around the movie. It's like you have the blast, and then you have like the
drama inception.
Exactly.
Well, guys, it was really fun, but I really have to call it quits.
Oh,
yeah,
I don't know how it is, the rolling pin and all.
Hey man, it's okay. At least we don't have to worry about Larry going on for like 12-hour stream, man. Because you know he'll do it, bro.
Keep going, damn it.
I'm halfway Red Bulls in him.
I could do, but really, I have to go.
No caffeine in my system right now. That's a natural high.
Well, I'll catch y'all guys later. I had fun.
All right, Brian.
Revere,
thank you,
a pleasure having you. Retro, you too.
Yes.
A pleasure having you, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We can do it again.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, folks. See you on the other side.
See you later.
All right, I'll see y'all on Twitter.
Yeah.
All right. See you.
See you. Bye.
Bye.